I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Tim Constantine, host of Sixth Century Podcast. Welcome back, sir. Thanks for joining me here in the Guild GCD.
Awesome, man. Great to be here. Glad to be
Can you hear me, Tim?
/reporter. Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Loud and clear. Yes, sir. And also joining us here tonight, Landon, host of the Daily Dissident. Welcome back, sir. Thanks for joining me here to Guild GCD.
What's up, JJ? What's up, Tim? Good to be back, guys. Kind of getting back in the groove of things. So excited to kick this one off. One of my favorite movies of all time. I've probably watched it 20 times at least. I would say 20 to 30 times. Probably.
I must agree with you, sir. I've seen this thing dozens, if not 100 plus times for sure. How about you there, Tim?
Yeah, I've seen it my share of times. It's up there for me as well. The number is, and I think this is good timing for this movie. Actually, I mean, I know that holidays are coming up, and everybody watches movies during the holidays. I feel like this one pops up for me a lot during that holiday season. It seems like I see it every year that around those times for whatever reason. But yeah, I've seen it a lot, and I've often wondered about this movie. So it was good to really dive into some of those questions.
Sure. And I think this is a great film. We were kind of getting to it beforehand, but a great film to discuss some matters relative to the Society of the Cincinnati and my ongoing theories that all roads in conspiracy culture here in America, all roads lead back to the Society. And before we get into that, though, in tonight's film, where it kind of kicks off with the last signatory of the Declaration of Independence, Charles Carroll, a man who's known as a founding father. He was a member of the Continental Congresses. So while not a member of the Society of Cincinnati, being a signatory member of the Declaration of Independence and participatory member, there we go, in the Continental Congresses, I do suspect he would have been possibly a man in the know of Cincinnati matters, if you will.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I was definitely going to bring him up too. I think it's no accident that he shows up early on in this movie. And I've often talked about the layer of truth behind movies. I've done many podcasts with both you gentlemen. I know it comes up. I know I've said that at least once. And it's almost like a supernatural, because it's like these people writing the scripts get downloads or something, or channel the muse, if you will. But beyond that, my broader point here is that, I've often talked about scenes like the one in Indiana Jones where they show that hidden history warehouse. And I think that that's very realistic, but I think we're about to take it like a step further today, because this movie is on another level with that kind of stuff, those kind of scenes.
I agree with you, sir. I think that is a realistic scene. If I may give you a realistic story about that Indiana Jones type environment of a warehouse, I seen one like that. So I was involved at one point in time in my Air Force career. I was going to be a driver for an experimental vehicle that was first created by NASA, the Department of Energy, and the United States Air Force back in the Carter administration into the Reagan administrations. It got buried and put into a warehouse in Cleveland, Ohio, just outside of Sandusky, at a NASA facility. I was there when we finally got it. We got the project uncovered. It was buried under mounds of dust and in a crate, literally in the back of a warehouse. Where I joked when we got the engine out of the, it was the engine of the vehicle, right? It's a very unique vehicle. It's an old Sterling automobile engine. Old engine design as far as the Sterling engine goes. It's a couple hundred years old, but they made it so they could put it in a car and it would not have any emissions. So there's no more of those clean energy acts. Those aren't necessary. And it got, at the time, 60 miles per gallon, but the second iteration got 100 miles per gallon. So you can see why folks would want to bury it in a warehouse. But I joked to the folks there, even to the NASA folks. I'm like, oh, was that to the crate next to us? Like, what is that? The Ark of the Covenant? Because that's what it looked like. It looked like that huge warehouse with all them crates. And this thing had been buried back there for decades. And folks have been, NASA had been telling Congress and this one scientist that was the head of the project that it didn't exist. So when we're talking about these matters of government saying things don't exist or they may exist in a warehouse and it's in like an Indiana Jones environment, like you said, dude, I've seen it. That shit's real.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going
This
to
is
add.
an automobile engine, but you can
Sure.
extrapolate those and apply anything to it at that
Well,
rate.
exactly. That's what I was about to say. Is like, what else is in the warehouse, right? It's not just all a bunch of cars. And I've got old articles and documentation from missionaries back in the day who found or were shown the bones of giants in that Sandusky region. There was
Yup.
a giant war. It's documented in 3 or 4 different Native American legends, including the Wall of Olam, that the Cherokee and the Iroquois and maybe actually let me start that over. The Delaware, Lenape, and some of the Cherokee had a war with the Allegheny giants. And the Allegheny giants, some of their bodies after this war were taken through Sandusky and buried in mounds up there. And then in the 1800s, shown to this missionary. So just adding some little spice to your story there. Who knows what else is in
Yes,
that
sir.
warehouse?
Not only have you added spice to the story, sir, I appreciate that, Sale, and that's one I've not heard before. Not only am I going to be reading more about it, I'd like to table that for our future Fridays conversation.
Let's do that.
Was that a French missionary?
I don't remember, sir. I'll bring it up
Right, well,
on Fridays next time we talk, which won't be long from now.
I would put money on it, sir, that was a French missionary.
Yeah, could be.
I'm not a betting man, but I would bet on that. So, no, it's awesome. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, man, you said Charles Carroll, and, I don't know. I think it might be.
That was a while ago, JJ.
Wait, what happened? Okay,
I just realized that.
No, he was just showing the Dollar General sack.
I just saw that just now.
I do think I don't want to rush into this thing or anything, but I think it's imperative that we break down the first 5 minutes of this film because
No, that's a great idea. But before we go any further, sir, I didn't give either of you gents an opportunity for any plugs.
Okay, Landon, go.
You can find me on anywhere you find podcasts, The Daily Dissident, and that's it.
Awesome. Good to see you, Landon.
Don't forget your fantasy football shows, sir. I'll have both.
Oh yeah, the Fantasy Report. If you like fantasy football, I'm on YouTube over there.
I'm Tim Constantine. The best place to find me is the Sixth Sensory Podcast. I spell it out SIX. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Instagram, and Patreon.
And I thank both of you gents for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD, and I'll make sure all those links are in the show notes. Yeah, so if we're talking about the first 5 minutes, and we're kind of kicking off with a more ancient history than the film depicts, but I think that is part of the secrets that are. So we're sold in this national treasure is an actual intrinsic treasure of gold and whatnot, which I'm sure there's a part of that, right? But I think part of those secrets also is the history of America. How it was not founded in 1492, how it has a much deeper history within these bloodlines.
Ancient texts, magic texts, different things like that too.
And they've got the secret family book, which so the first scene is young Nicolas Cage in the film. His name is Ben Franklin Gates. We'll come back to that name later, but he's in the attic on a stormy night because he's curious about the family book of Seekers, probably because he's in a family of secret society members, of course. But then the grandpa catches him in the attic and says, okay, you're old enough to know, I suppose. Sit down, and he starts telling the story. That's where Charles Carroll comes in, because what Grandpa Gates says is like, it was 1832 on a stormy night like this. Charles Carroll, he was the last living signer of the Declaration of Independence. So I stopped the movie there and I've looked all that up, and it checks out. And I have a broader point with this, but it does check out. Charles Carroll did die in 1832, and at that time he was the last living signer of the Declaration. So, and he was the only Catholic signer. So I was like, my next thought was like, was he a Jesuit? And
oh wow, he's from Maryland,
and he was a Jesuit, very well educated Jesuit, deep in the program. Also very wealthy, richest man in the colonies. At the start of the American Revolution, he was worth around $375 million by today's standards. Fellas, that's
he helped
rich.
finance that war, sir. He helped finance that war.
Mm-hmm. And
he was a major figure in the financial aspects of the war.
Was he also a Mason? Because in the movie, Cage's grandpa says, makes a point to say, "Oh, Carroll was in a secret society known as the Masons." So I'm wondering if that's accurate. I'm sure he was a Mason.
So my understanding is no. By all records, there's no record of him being a Mason. But that is what I was saying. Well, that's what I was inferring before the show started, gents. Is when they're making these statements about this as being a Freemasonic country and him being a Mason, are they really just throwing a nod to the Society of Cincinnati? I know they show us the Masonic symbolism, et cetera, et cetera. I got it. But what I'm saying is Charles Carroll was, by all records, was not a Mason.
Right. Plus, he's French, which would tie in with your whole French side of the society.
He's the perfect character to get involved in. So, for example, I don't have record he's specifically a member, but I can give you a number of characters just like him who were financiers, who ran the commissary, who did, there was even a guy, member of British Parliament. He's a member of the society because he was the guy making sure the goods got over here to the colonies during the war.
Mm-hmm.
So he falls in that trusted agent category where he may not have served in the military, but I do suspect they made him a member.
Okay.
Well, so in the movie, Carroll has this secret, right? He knows he's dying. And I guess it doesn't necessarily matter if he's a Mason in real life because he's going to see Andrew Jackson to give him this secret. Who, by the way, Jackson was president in 1832. All this. And Carroll lives in Maryland, like I heard somebody say a minute ago. So I'm just saying, like, so far up to this point in the movie, this could very well have happened, theoretically, other than we don't know if he was a Mason. But in the movie, he goes to the White House. Andrew Jackson isn't there. So Carroll tells Nicolas Cage's character's great grandfather the secret instead. So it's like a deathbed secret about this ancient treasure found by the Knights Templar, who they say in the movie found secret vaults beneath Solomon's temple. So now we see the nod to the Templars. That's what I kind of wanted to highlight here and by the way, we're still in the realm of truth here as it pertains to this movie, because in 1119, the Templars acquired space below Temple Mount in Jerusalem, and they did dig in secret there beneath the temple looking for ancient treasure.
That's the first crusade, right? 1119. Is that correct, JJ?
I believe they were kicked off in the Council of Clermont in 1112. Council of Clermont.
I knew it was around that time at some point. Early 1100s. Right?
Disregard 1095. My apologies. 1095.
Damn. So I'm just saying, at this point, I think you're less than 4 minutes in, and you already have Masons, Templars, and other knights mentioned, and that's no accident. I
think that's a great point, sir. I think that's a great point. I think it emphasizes my point about the Society of Cincinnati, who are the descendants of those Templars. So Andrew Jackson would have been a member of the society, and that's what I'm saying. If we're to take this Freemasonry reference to Charles Carroll and apply the society in place of it, well, it makes a lot more sense.
Can I ask you one question, JJ? Have you been, well, I'm sure you have, but anybody that has not been through downtown DC, don't do it because it's very stupid. They don't have red lights that overhang road streets. They're on stop sign poles. But anyhow, I was driving through there.
Your biggest complaint, sir? That's your biggest complaint?
Terrible. Don't go through there at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock anyhow. But just driving through down, what's that avenue there? What's the big museum? Not the Smithsonian, but the other big museum. That road right in there. Anyways, it's how you get to Maryland.
It turns into New York Avenue.
Yeah, New York Avenue, because
it's a Holocaust museum down there too.
That's actually that might be it.
That's
but anyways,
it's not by Pennsylvania and 13th, I believe.
How many giants
lived there for too long?
How many giants you think are buried underneath all those hills, bro? That's so hilly in that area. It's not even funny. What's the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier? That's a big hill, right? It's on a big hill at the top of the hill, right, JJ?
Not only is that on a big hill, sir, that used to be owned by George Washington himself. And
is that is that a it has
the Lee family. Yeah, so there's all sorts of history through that land. Arlington National is a mound. It's mounds there. Fort Myer, that's all built on mounds there. That was passed down from Martha's first husband. Then it got passed down to her children, Daniel Parke Custis, who died in battle at Yorktown alongside his stepfather, George Washington, who had raised him. And then he dies, and then George and Martha raise his kids, his daughter and son. His son was George Washington Parke Custis, named after George, because that was, again, that's who raised. All of Martha's children were very young when her husband died, Daniel Custis. So the George Washington Parke Custis got that property, and he gave it to his daughter, who married Robert E. Lee. And then the society matters that we call the Civil War, the Society of Cincinnati feud, they gave up that land. So that wasn't prime mound property. There's a lot of mound disputes, I do believe, internally within the society.
Well, there's going to be. It's a good point.
Downtown.
There's going to be
downtown DC. Like there's like mounds left and right.
Dude, if you want to go downtown DC, go to 16th Street Northwest Regions, go to Meridian Park. This is where John Quincy Adams had built his home on top of a mound, but there's still mounds there today. Now it's called Meridian Park because Thomas Jefferson had designed a new system of not only measurements like pounds instead of all the meters and miles, all the pounds and kilograms, all that nonsense. The reason why it's different is because we had an entirely separate system, including time. He wanted our own meridian, which he ran through a bunch of mounds, including Meridian Park. That's why it's got that name.
So I would suggest that, speaking about what's buried beneath this city, it's a lot of stuff. It's mounds and probably a lot of other stuff too. And I think there's definitely some nods to that throughout this movie. But like early on, when they bring up the Templar part where they say, oh, the Templars got this treasure from, beneath Solomon's temple and all that. Well, the Grandpa Gates tells the young Nicolas Cage the Templars took the treasure back to Europe, started the Freemasons, then smuggled the treasure out of Europe from there. And so thus this treasure was on its way probably over here to the New World or the Old World. And thus it was it was in Templar Masonic possession. So
we can stay with Templar, sir. We can stay with Templar. You're spot on, because I assure you I didn't look this up before. I should have. Charles Carroll was indeed my assessment and analysis, my analyst of the situation was correct. These folks that did not serve in the militia for George Washington's army, that they served these supporting roles, were indeed made honorary members, as was Carroll.
Yeah. So, okay. So, but going back to like what's lingering around beneath DC, potentially, if you take what they're saying in this movie and acknowledge that that's true, because it is true. That's my point here. It's like the Templars did take treasures across Europe and then spread out from there. And if you jump 500 years, so let's say they got these treasures in the 1100s/1200s. If you jump 500 years to the 1700s, Washington and Jefferson are now in the order and part of hiding that treasure during the American Revolution. That's what the movie is suggesting, and I think that that's close to probably what really happened. So I'm on board with all.
I don't disagree, sir. I don't disagree. I think the only thing I would have changed is the fact that it's not a society. It's not a Mason thing. It's a society thing.
I'm saying it's a Templar thing, and that the movie is saying the movie is saying that it's a Templar/Mason thing. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell everybody like what the movie is saying. But if we're talking about personal opinions, I think that this is a Templar thing, and thus a Society of Cincinnati thing.
Maybe it's all.
They are the modern day Templars. They are the descendants. Dude, I'm descended from 19 of the 25 Knights. I mean, according to records and papers and whatnot, I'm descended from 19 of the 25 Templar Knights of signed Magna Carta. My son is descended from 24 or 25 of them, as my ex-wife is also my fifth cousin, amongst other things. But she's also descended from a lot of those same knights.
Well, they
different knights of the same 25.
Yeah. Well, as you know, we've talked about this before. They didn't simply cease to be in 1307, like history was. It's
right.
I've been through a lot of old letters, a lot of old documents. You guys know I have my ways, and one of the things that I've come up with and seen is that in 1765, Ben Franklin got into one of those old Templar treasure vaults on Oak Island. And
Yeah.
then a few years later, a McLaren got into it and took some of. But what they were doing, what Franklin was doing, apparently, was funding the American Revolution with some of that, and that the whole thing, this particular treasury of Oak Island was put there, according to these records, by Sinclair back in the 1300s. So
Yes, sir.
they
And we see all these things represented in the society. General Arthur St. Clair, Ben Franklin was an honorary member of the society. So what I'm saying here, I think is if I'm tracking with what you're saying, there's not only a more ancient history to this treasure where it's being passed down for in these bloodlines. It goes back to, I don't think just 1,000 years. I think it goes back long before Christ.
Mhm. Well, that treasure that was put beneath Solomon's temple goes back before Christ for sure. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, man. So, and it's interesting. They tell you in the movie it's not about having or finding the treasure; it's about protecting the treasure, and that is a very, very Templar-esque notion. So,
Let's see if we can
I
get away
just-
with watching the intro clip here, because I really think this scene you described is, you did aptly describe it, sir. But this is this is one of my favorite scenes, openings to any film. Quite honestly, this is a very.
love it.
I know I'm partial because of American histories and whatnot, but just the cinematic nature of the storytelling here and the manner in which it grasps your attention. It's the best way I can explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts there, Landon, on this opening scene?
No, about the same. It's a really good scene, like you said.
Oh,
Okay.
It's not.
I think I've got something.
creepy either. You know what I mean? Because sometimes interactions with kids in movies are
Right, you
creepy.
can make it look real creepy. The old man.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought it was tasteful. And I agree, it's a great opening scene. I have something I can add to this. This gets deep though, but if you guys remember, Grandpa Gates here tells a young Nicolas Cage that their ancestor, the guy who met with Carroll because Jackson was out of the White House, so they had like one of his advisors meet with Carroll. So that happens to be Thomas Gates. So he's telling the young Cage the story. Well, I looked into Thomas Gates. Thomas Gates was a real guy from the 1600s who was governor of Jamestown in Virginia. And this goes deep because he knew Francis Drake and Queen Elizabeth I, who knighted him in real life. So Thomas Gates, the name they're using as their ancestor, and is a real dude. And think about it like this, though. Elizabeth I was in a group called Order Militia Cruciferia Evangelica. It's an underground Templar group. So she was a Templar. She knights Thomas Gates. He must have been a Templar as well. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I'm connecting some dots here. So
Oh wow. Yeah.
they knew
Well,
they
we
knew
have,
to use, they knew to use his name for this movie, and that's wild. I don't think that's a
Right.
coincidence.
That's
Well,
purposeful,
they kn-
right? Yeah.
They
That's
knew to use his name, sir, because his descendants served in the army for George Washington. The man you're describing as one of the founding members of Jamestown
Mm-hmm.
is indeed there's a number of these Gates boys in the society.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, JJ? Like, speaking of Thomas Gates, I got a lot of definitely Templar vibes, but also John D. Shakespeare vibes from this guy. I'm not saying he was Shakespeare, but he seemed like he was running that, like to Sir Francis Bacon and all of that.
Sure.
And Jamestown,
What you're identifying, though, again, is another name in this prominent names of these founding families of America, and again represented in the society because they are descendants of those Templar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've never heard anybody do an analysis like this of this movie before either, so I'm real excited about this. And I'm trying to nail it down that this is strangely accurate, is it not? I mean, all the names and the dates and the occurrences are real so far. We can.
I'm not convinced it's not a documentary, sir.
Exactly, man. I mean, we can argue about if Carroll was a Mason or not, but that's off to the side. That's real small stuff. The main stuff.
It's also irrelevant because if you replace Mason with society, it all makes sense. The society is the descendants of the Templar. They would be the holders of those secrets. They would be the holders of those treasures. And again, Carroll was a member. Jackson was a member. The people they're telling us in the storyline, they were members of the society.
Yeah, and they're telling you in the movie, I almost lost my train of thought there. They're telling you in the movie that the Masons were sort of a spinoff of the Templars. And I actually agree with that. So in the movie, they, in their defense, they do kind of say, yeah, we're throwing the Masons around a little bit here, but what we're actually saying is that they were Templars.
There's obviously some relationship there over time as far as the philosophies and carrying on, some of their quote unquote secrets, I'm sure as well. But to the extent that that's relative to these treasures, I'm not sure, right? Because
Right.
here's the deal. I think a lot of because so you have British descendants of Templars, right? So I think a lot of those folks do comprise the York Rite of Freemasonry, which is the onset of what we're told, 1717, right? The birth of Freemasonry, right? So I think that is, and there is elements that is accurate.
Yeah. I'll say this too. So, and I've probably told you this before. Hopefully, I'm not repeating myself too much, but I do think that the further back you go, the more condensed this overall mystical occult order becomes. I think the further back you go, the more you find that it was one order, and then all the other orders sprang off of that. And a good example, I think, would be that order militia evangelica that I just mentioned that Queen Elizabeth was in. I'm pretty certain that the Rosicrucians came out of that whole operation. So I
Interesting.
think
I'll have to look more into that one. That's very interesting because these are what you're saying to me makes a lot of sense. And not only that, I'll take it a step further, sir. I think because these things come out of somewhere, right? Rosicrucians came out of somewhere.
Bingo.
Maybe been underground at the time, but maybe they're above ground, incarnation, perhaps.
I asked a Freemason that. He did not have a response.
Yeah, of course they wouldn't, right? If you go back far enough, though, it's not only one group; it's one family.
Mm.
It's literally
one family. I just find the awesomeness of this is like the intermingling of the families. Like if you think about like American history, like, American entrepreneurs, American owners, pretty much, you think of DuPont, you think of these high class, all Masonic society connected families.
I'm about to say, name somebody besides DuPont that's not going to be Society Cincinnati. Go. They're all society. That's the mistaken nature of a lot of conspiracy culture. No offense, sir. But it is. A lot of people claim it's all Freemasons. It's not. It's not Freemasonry. It's society.
Or
not all U.S. presidents were Freemasons.
I wonder if
the DuPont Society, the Rockefeller Society. I mean, you can name the Gettys. You can name the quote unquote billionaire class of America, and Howard Hughes Society, Maryland chapter. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think too,
these are the misconceptions that are perpetrated again, in part by films like this, that's saying it's all Freemasonry stuff, and then it's easy to discredit the tales in the story, right? So if you claim it's Freemasonry stuff, and you can discredit that on its face, which everyone has on the interwebs since this film came out about Charles Carroll not being a Freemason, etc. But if you do it that way, then the tales you're telling in there are also discredited as a result of that in many folks' brain holes, and I think that's part of the Disney propaganda here.
Yeah, man. And I think that's what a lot of these movies on a broader scale serve to do is like you start to tell people that the Templars really did do some of this stuff and they start to giggle and poke fun and say, oh, I saw National Treasure too. Ha ha ha. Well,
right.
That's your typical normie response to everything. And these movies in some sort of a weird type of way seem to, I don't know, like they add to that but add a lot of eclectic stuff in the that muddles things up. I don't know. It's kind of hard to lay out. But just the fact that the Templars really did stash treasure over here, that's kind of because people would laugh at that, right? Oh, that's national treasure nonsense. Well, I think I wanted to throw this in because I think one of the larger clues that I've come across in research in this regard is that around 1178, the Templars lost a ship near Newfoundland, and some private investigators as well found it. So, and look, they kept for whatever those guys were Templars. This is a story that I've heard Scott Walter talk about and lay out details. So, he brought that to light, so I'll give him credit for it. But the reason why they knew to find the shipwreck is because they were Templars and they had all the documents about it. They looked back in their records and they saw, oh, back in 1178, we lost the ship near Newfoundland. Let's see if we can go find it. And they went and found it. So there's little things like that.
That's a great story, sir. I was not familiar with that one in particular, but that's a great point because we to bookend that, a known about American history. This is what I mean by these bloodlines of the Templars. This had been their land for a very long time. We know at least back to 1362, according to this land claim. This Kensington's runestone land claim, uncovered in 1898, inadvertently, as we're told, by a farmer there in rural Minnesota, was the land claim in which we got the America, that is, got the Louisiana Purchase. All of that land was actually the precise land that was marked by this land claim in 1362. And we got it as America through a secret deal concerning the Society of the Cincinnati members, one in UK British Parliament, one being Napoleon, the other being Thomas Jefferson and his Secretary of the Treasury, who drew all the maps for Lewis and Clark, by the way, Albert Gallatin.
Okay.
So these are secret land deals of folks who know the lands and the surveys. Gallatin's the dude did surveys before Lewis and Clark. So he's passing down maps to them. We're getting that land deal. Again, this is what got us their ancestors, those men's ancestors, some of my ancestors, and I believe both some of your all's ancestors too there, gents. We're part of the group that claimed this land in 1362, and it was fought over for many centuries, after that. But we got here in America this incarnation of these matters in what is known as the Louisiana Purchase in 1804.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of Scott Walter, right? Like he had a lot to say about this runestone as well.
Did he ever talk about this one that I'm sharing, Tim? This one's crazy. Now, this one even dates back further, and JJ knows about this one, and I say it all the time. This one goes back to like 8000 AD.
What is this?
It was left by Ogham monks. Irish. They're Irish monks.
Oh, the Ogham script.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's in Wyoming.
A lot of that in West Virginia, in there, sir.
Can you blow up a picture of that?
How do I zoom in, JJ?
You just want to send what are we looking at here? What'd you Google? What are we Googling?
Just Wyoming County, West Virginia, petroglyph, Irish.
Okay, right on. Yeah, the Ogham thing goes deep. For people listening, it's like a ancient form of writing that has the appearance of so at times of not being writing. It looks like I've heard it described like this. It looked like somebody took an axe to stone and just started swinging at stone and putting all these little notches in the stone. There. Well, it's actually a language. That's hotly debated by your institutions.
Wild and wonderful
Academics.
Have you ever been here, Tim?
No.
You
never been to Wyoming County, West Virginia? I'll tell you what,
I don't know.
They got a little general, and that's it.
If I've been that
was your boy Barry Fell right there.
Yeah, I know. That's who I'm kind of citing actually with the Ogham stuff. See there, it looks like somebody.
No, they're really nice.
There's Celtic really script from Wyoming County down to or through Logan County, Wyoming County, and there's name another county for me, sir.
There's one in Boone County as well.
Boone County, there we go. Boom. I was about to say, where's Beckley? I could not. That escaped my brain hole for a second. Thank you for saying.
That's Raleigh. So you got Raleigh, Wyoming, and then Boone County.
Yeah, that whole sector right there in the southwest.
It's southern. That's southern West Virginia. So that's where I'm from, Greenbrier County. So we're considered
southwest. We'll settle it southwestern West. We don't want to leave anyone out. Southwestern.
What's it called?
Down in Bluefield. They got stuff down in Bluefield too, in Princeton, right?
Yeah. What was those dudes? Tim had him on. Tim, we need to talk with this guy, the guy from Appalachian Intelligence. JJ could join us with that too. We should do a show with him. He was talking about.
Oh, I just reached out to those gents. We just connected, I think, on social medias. I saw them on Tim's show.
Yeah. I've been following them for a while down in Hayside, Virginia. So that's Bluefield, pretty much. They're not far from there. That's like Tennessee, West Virginia, Kentucky. All that's kind of in that same little area.
That's Washington? Is that Washington County or Wise County?
Wise County, Virginia. That's they got.
Dude, I can't throw a rock. I can't throw a rock. I reached out to these gents. They're probably my kinfolk. Let's be honest about the situation. I can't throw a rock in Wise County 5 feet without hitting someone I'm related to. So. Logan County's really about 2 feet. Wise County's about 5 feet. Washington County's about 10 feet. But I'm basically related to those people down there.
They're nice people, man. I missed the hospitality. I do want to shout that out because I might have sounded like I was talking on Wyoming County, but I'm not. They're super nice people, man. I mean, I wouldn't go down there messing around, but you might get messed up. But
hey, boy, you ain't from around here, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it could get scary like that, couldn't it, JJ? I could definitely see.
Oh no, it can. It for sure can.
Yeah, if you
If
guys
you mean well, though, you're good. If you mean well, I always tell folks, if you mean well, you're good. They can just folks in that neck of the woods, they can sniff it out real quick if you don't mean well.
So yeah, like when we're talking about Ogum and some of these other matters discussed tonight, I do like to think about it big picture at times where you can just kind of go there and see what pops up. It's like, where does this all originate from? And even with Ogum, it's like I had a listener. I'm not going to talk too in depth about this because I don't know if he wants me talking about it, but I had a listener send me something that they found up near Lake Michigan, an artifact. And I told him, I'm like, well, what this reminds me of is the Ogum Phoenician stuff that was found in Lake Michigan. They had an island up there that the Phoenicians were using as a port. And this shout out to Barry Fell because he covered a lot of this. And they found Ogum on that island, not unlike what you just showed, Landon. And it was Phoenician and it indicated there was a port there. So what does this all go back to, though? Older cultures, and from the Mediterranean. But before that, how far back does it go? So, I mean, and I think, just thinking about this movie here, there's that line there where Grandpa Gates says that the treasure in the movie changed hands through rulers. It changed hands through rulers, pharaohs, and emperors and all that, meaning that this is very old, and you could infer that maybe it goes back to a certain mystical empire. And where I'm going with that is JJ said something a minute ago where he's like, it goes back to one family. And I'm suggesting that perhaps it goes back to one empire. And perhaps the Templars, the Rosicrucians, the Freemasons, if you go back far enough, they also as well come out of one empire. So, and
I think you're spot on, sir. I think Scott Walter's done some of that work, right? With the hooked X stuff, right?
That's what the temple, going back to the Solomon's temple and the digging and where they found this stuff in the first place, historically, I think that's what the Templars were tasked to find, were relics and sacred knowledge from the lost empire, as weird as that sounds.
I think that's the major thing, right? Is the ancient knowledge that's worth more than the gold or the money or anything you could buy.
Right. We see that in Europe with the Templar knowledge brought back to Eastern Europe or to Europe from the Middle East, and the architecture of things like the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Right, and it ties into a lot of the Gnostic stuff too, right, Tim? Mm-hmm. Most of that, the Masonry stuff's more shoot, I had a brain for it. What did I just say?
It does go back to Gnostic stuff because
Gnosticism, yeah, that all kind of intermixes.
Well, I'm glad you said that, sir.
Ancient Egyptian, school.
Yeah, let me say something on that line, because you struck something like a lot of this does go back to Gnosticism, very old Gnosticism, because when you look at who those Templars were. Who the first couple of Templars, some of them come out of these Cathar families from the France and from the what's the mountain range there between Spain and France.
The Pyrenees.
The Pyrenees, thank you, sir. And those Cathars have very, very heavy Gnostic views. So yeah, there's an element of that for sure here.
Yes, sir. You're spot on. I can take you back a couple about a millennia past that, though, if you will. So the Templars believed they were the descendants of a kingdom out of Edessa, the ancient kingdom of Edessa, which was a Persian, Judeo-Egyptian marriage. So Persian dad, mother was ancient, was Egyptian, was a Judeo-Egyptian. Now this is different than the Roman Judaism, which would be introduced in rabbinical Judaism we know today. This is the pre-rabbinical Judaism before Rome invented their own. So these people were very Gnostic, and they were very focused on astrology, this form of Egyptian Judaism. This would be something that would be along the lines of King Tut and
The
his
solstices, right,
Akhenaten.
JJ? Is that where you're going with this? The solstices. I mean that plays.
That's what I'm saying. So if you follow these hooked X things through this ancient kingdom of Edessa, their Jesus, his name's King Isbara, I believe is the English pronunciations of his name. This is who the Templars thought they descended from. This is where the first Crusades went. The first Crusades went to the ancient kingdom of Edessa and set up shop for 30 years. They didn't go to Judea. They went there later. That's an important site, but that wasn't the most important site. Now, I do think there was more treasures in Judea and there was more knowledge in Edessa. So I do think that's accurate. And part of that knowledge that they brought back was the knowledge of their king. And that was told through the tales of King Arthur. Where the tales of King Arthur
and his protecting, right? On their journey to Judea. That's who the Templars were protecting. They were kind of like the pimp my ride of, armored security. They were kind of like the Palantir of, Jesus'
They were running different. They were running the esoteric missions and the exoteric missions, I believe. They were running the exoteric. We're telling the Pope what we're doing, and they're running their own.
That's like you said, that, I mean, what I just said is the basic story of the Crusades, right? Or the Templar version of the Crusades, is that they were kind of this taxi service to, Jews going back to Judea, right?
But we do see them bring back not only the knowledge of the architecture, but it's stories of their history, of their king, of their forefathers and foremother. So that is the stories of King Arthur. We see that they then bring that back from the first Crusades or second Crusades, and then they use that in contemporary times to tell their family story.
And it does kind of go back to a lineage of kings and just kings in general, because it was King Baldwin II, I think, who gave the Templars access to Temple Mount in the first place.
Yep. Yes, sir.
It was like, here, he gave him a little piece of real estate right there in the Holy Land. And that's how they were able to do what you guys are saying, esoteric and exoteric type of stuff. Like, I think that they were sort of running the show, if you will, the sort of family business. The front was, we're going to help these pilgrims to and fro with the Holy Land. But behind closed doors, literally, they're digging down beneath Solomon's temple, looking for all this. It's what you said earlier, Landon, this sacred knowledge. And I mean, that's where we're going to lose people. But what I've just told you
kind of lost me too, Tim. I mean, that's about as far as I can go with that. Is of the ancient, like, that is not my wheelhouse at all. But I do love it. Like, this is one of my favorite discussions.
Well, I think you're spot on, sir, and we can see that exemplified in the actions of Donald Trump, a descendant from the numerous Scottish clans, including his mother's, obviously, MacLeods, Highlanders. We're Lowlanders of Clan Vance, despite me not really being from Clan Vance. Anyhow, not pertinent necessarily. The point there being is, he is the largest private mound owner in the world, Donald Trump. Based upon the volume of golf, I've done a study based upon the volume of golf courses. In fact, he recently, a number of years back, about 10 or 12, he diversified his portfolio, or I'm sorry, divested his portfolio a bit in some golf courses, including the Mound Country Club here in Newark, Ohio. He was a 40% owner in that for many years.
What's the one there in New Jersey, right? There's one, that one's on a mound site too, right?
Dude, almost every. There's I have a list, and out of the volume of golf courses I've gone over his, including the ones in Scotland, there's only like 2 of them thus far that do not have mounts. So they're overwhelmingly, he's the largest private mound owner. He's a descendant of the Templars, and when he moved when he took office in his first administration, he did a very Templar thing. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem, and then he did a very more Templar thing. He started digging tunnels in Jerusalem.
Who are you talking about, Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Engaged in a very heavy. Immediately upon moving the embassy, their first order of business was engaging in a very, very heavy underground tunneling projects.
And might I add,
did not include
might I add, this is recent. I've seen that he's also building this gate. They're lovingly calling it the Gate to Trump or something like that. Well, it's an Ishtar gate, if you ask me. We can get into that later, fellas.
I'll bring that up here soon for sure. That sounds interesting.
He just posted himself in a Halo suit, so.
Hey, can I?
I'm just saying, he's doing a lot of Templar things. He's got Templar heritage. He's the largest owner of mounds. For a while down there at Mar-a-Lago, dude, he had what he called, at least he claimed it was, a golden replica of the Ark of the Covenant. I assert that might have been the real thing.
Oh, the Templars are obsessed with these arcs, man. Still,
Maybe
to
that's
this
why
day.
they broke into his house.
Yeah,
right?
dude. But what
Now
a better way to oh, go ahead, Lane. I
Oh, shit.
apologize.
Is that why they broke into his house down there? After those documents.
That's what I'm
now?
saying, dude.
Dude, that makes sense.
What a better
That
way
makes
to
sense.
claim
Holy
to
shit.
hide it than to put it
JJ.
wide out in the open and tell you it's a fucking replica.
Did we just break the code? Are we gonna get shot in like
Boom.
30 minutes? Like, I'm serious. Like, that's yeah, that
Landon, if they kill your
that-
connection, we'll know what happened.
Dude,
Yeah,
what is?
that
But
checks
seriously,
out.
though, what is Donald Trump
I'll
doing?
check out, brother.
You might be onto something, sir. You might be onto something. What is he doing with?
Is this confirmed that he?
MAGA?
Is it JJ? Is it confirmed? You said that he's Templar heritage. That we can confirm.
Oh
that?
yeah, I've done the Scottish heritage, sir. He's most certainly descended from numerous Templar Knights.
Okay.
And that's their whole memorandum, right? Is hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, I think my closest yeah, you're spot on, sir. I was just considering his questions. You're spot. That's what I'm saying, dude. Hidden in plain sight. We got trans MAGA.
Am I
Israel
retarded
operative
for
here.
thinking that? I kind of feel a little. I feel like a little quacked out for thinking that, but hell, that could be true, man.
Dude, the moment I saw this, I'm like, what is this dude doing, dude? That has got to be the real one, dude. That's what I'm saying, dude. This dude plays games with people, dude. He would be the guy that would hide it right out in your face hole. He'd be the guy taunting it to everybody, right?
And people
Cut a
don't even
deal.
know their own Masonic hall in their own town because it's hidden in plain sight. There's one literally not far from my hometown at my house. I showed my girlfriend it, and I actually showed my buddy who never noticed it for like 18 years of his life. I was like, "Hey, that building doesn't have windows, right?" I said, "Look on the side of it. Tell me what symbols on there."
We're told, yeah, I mean, that's a great point, sir. But we're told in regards to those matters right there, we're told again it's a replica. We're told a lot of these things. We're told a lot of the matters of that raid you mentioned on Mar-a-Lago. They've refused to release any of the footage, by the way, Trump included. No one wants anyone to see what they were actually doing there. There is tales of them going through his wife's underwear drawer, which again I would argue is distraction because they were looking for that. They were looking for the Ark of the Covenant.
Well, yeah. I mean, so Ark
Bro,
included. It goes back
Betchel-
to this whole sacred knowledge thing.
Betchel
right?
built his whole bunker under that place, anyways. Tim.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you.
Dude, there's so much stuff underground.
They might have though. Fuck, they might have.
Well, George Washington loved going spelunking, if you will. They're going in the caves over there in near Winchester, Virginia. In fact, there is caves that he inscribed his name on, the initials and signature.
Are we gonna play this movie? Is that
No, I was just going to keep doing that, sir. But I'm glad you reminded me. Thank you.
okay?
It's among our founding fathers left us clues like these: the unfinished pyramid, the all-seeing eye, symbols of the Knights Templar, guardians of the treasure. They're speaking to us through these.
You mean laughing at us? You know what that dollar represents? The entire Gates family fortune. 6 generations of fools chasing after fool's gold.
It's not about the money, Patrick. It's never been about the money.
Come on, son. Time to go.
You can say your goodbyes.
Grandpa,
Hmm?
are we knights?
Do you want to be? All right. Neil. Benjamin Franklin Gates, you take upon yourself the duty of the Templars, the Freemasons.
It's just right in your face, though.
The family
Templars and Knights,
Gates.
all of it.
Do you so swear?
I so swear.
There, they killed it there, right? With that transition,
so-
they just killed it.
Well, hold on, gentlemen. We see him. He takes an oath. He takes an oath that involves Masons and Templars right there, taking up the cause. That's true to real life. That's the oath, gentlemen, that Godfrey and Hudibanes took in 1100 AD. Just saying.
And when we're talking about ancient Egypt, as they describe there with the the dollar bill and all. This fella, he was a hereditary member of the French chapter of the Society of Cincinnati. He's the fellow that got shipped over to America to aid and abet Squire and Davis. I don't know why I said it that way. To aid and abet Squire and Davis there in their mound survey. The Society of Cincinnati started the Smithsonian. Their first order of business was Squire and Davis's survey of the ancient monuments of the Mississippi Valley. And this fella came over here as their assistant. Why would they ship over a French member from the UK if this was an all society matters, from a society generated operation, from society surveyors and more? This guy. So this guy, after that surveying mission in the 1840s, he would go on to Central America for many decades, and then down in Peru, where he discovered things, I believe, such as Machu Picchu, decades before it was quote unquote officially discovered. But yet it's in his journal somehow. And he would describe the circumstances of an ancient culture that stretched from the Yucatan up to the Grand Canyon here in America. And that ancient culture predated ancient Egypt, but it was the same culture. And all these masonry images that are depicted in this film, he actually documented as originating here in America.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But you know what people will say to this, JJ? They'll going back to that scene we just watched. The dad overhears the convo, gets mad, and says that's nonsense, which is exactly what we're taught in school about all this.
Dude, I've been told this is nonsense all my life, sir.
I
almost got you want a funny tale about school? I almost got thrown out of 8th grade, dude, out of school. The only reason I didn't was I literally overheard the principal say, well, the whole religious freedom thing. I'm like, these motherfuckers, they can't listen, can they? Because they were trying to tell me it was a Mormon thing. I'm like, look at it. Your book says that it was a dispute over. I answered, like, I'm a real dick about these matters, I guess. But here's the deal: I don't care for their attitudes or their false histories. And when the book I'm given of American history in 8th grade says in 1066, the Vikings, they're fucking idiots. They're no longer the Vikings. They are now the Norse, because they've now Christianized by that point in time. Shows how much these textbook people knew about history. But in 1066, they founded Lawn Saw Meadows.
Right. So,
Newfoundland, Nova Scotia.
Newfoundland.
But what
However,
we're saying here is that the first and I want to hear Landon what you're about to say, because you had an opinion on this scene.
Hold on, so let me just finish my point about the ignorant nature of our textbooks and history, those as were described. Even though a textbook said that, the teacher whom I answered incorrectly on the test, according to her, when I wrote that in myself, she said, I'm like, well, look, lady, it's in your book. And then, it became a whole dispute. They were trying to expel me, and the only reason they didn't is because they claimed I was Mormon. The principal didn't. It was religious freedom. So I'm like, you guys are idiots. It's in your fucking book.
Yeah, man.
But that is the ignorant nature of how we treat history right there.
Yeah, man. And to your point, JJ, and maybe to the point I've been trying to make here, is that I think the first 5 to 10 minutes of this movie is more accurate than what the majority of Americans realize.
But it's treated as fiction.
Right. Exactly. It's treated as fiction. And then you get, like you said, then you get sort of ostracized for it if you question that.
You said, Tim,
despite it being in the same textbook, you can be like, no, go back a few pages later. They're like, no. And they're like, no, it's still wrong. I'm like, you Muppets got to be kidding me.
What did you say, Tim, prior about Thomas Gates's dad? You said that he was kind of like the normie approach.
Yeah, because he comes in the room there, right? And he's like, oh,
I take it differently. Yeah, I take him a little bit differently. I think that he knows and believes it's true, and has probably researched a lot of it, and is kind of burnt out of it. Is the reason he's kind of being a realist at that, and I think that's more depicting of him. You know what I mean? I think he knows and believes it's true, and has spent a lot of time.
He got disenfranchised along the way at some point,
right? Well, that's what
the movie mentions that, right? JJ,
the movie shows that. Yeah, later
on, they heavily imply it, right?
Right. He comes back around later on, and it's like, and you get that sense that he believed it all along.
Right.
But in that moment, the response we get is that to one society in general gives, dealing with these types of things.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, deep down, I think he's got a lot of knowledge.
Like a personal level, I think he is.
Yeah, man, for sure.
The same way, Tim, if you try to tell folks that the Smithsonian has giants, right? They're like, come on, man.
Right, exactly.
See that in a movie somewhere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it, man. And
But there is if you look like if I may, sir, if you look at the comparative if you were just to do a comparative analyst of dinosaur evidence and giant human evidence, it's not even comparable.
No.
Not only is dinosaurs clearly infectional that was made up in which to deter folks' attention away from these giant human skeletons that were being found across America and colonial America at the time. Sheer happenstance, I'm sure. But
Not
what
the
I'm
St.
saying
Clair
also,
family, JJ.
what is it, sir?
You wouldn't dare say the St. Clair family was involved with that cover up, would you?
Oh, well,
St. Clair Gas and Oil with the dinosaur in the logo.
I
Come
think
on,
both
dude.
sides of the society, the liberty and anti-liberty factions, are willing to lie to everyone else so long as keep the feud internally.
To keep the money in the pockets, baby. That's the game.
But
That's the
but we can
game,
see
right?
the evidence of giant human skeletons. If you look at all the evidence versus the actual evidence of dinosaurs, this outside of just the actual evidence, I'm not even talking about the inception or all the other nonsense. I'm just saying take the actual evidence, and you're like, well, there's way more evidence of giant human skeletons than even if you were to try to infer dinosaurs are real. George Washington didn't believe in dinosaurs. He did believe in giant human skeletons because he'd seen it.
Yep. I'm in the same belief.
Dinosaurs were
system with
invented after George Washington's life, is what I'm saying, right? So, but he dug up 2 7.5-foot bastards there in Winchester, Virginia, at Fort Loudon when building.
Absolutely. JJ Captain, can you punch me in, sir, to share screen? So I wanted to bring this up before I forget because where we left off in the movie a minute ago, like right where the scene switched.
Yeah, they go to the Antarctic, right? Which seems kind of crazy, but if you look into the history, which I'm sure you're about to share with us, sir, there is some historical nature to some of that scenes, right?
I'm excited to hear about this, Tim.
Okay, so here's the deal. He goes in the movie. He's looking for the Charlotte. It's a ship. Because in the movie it says the clue to finding all this treasure is in the Charlotte. So they cut to an older Nicolas Cage, and he's out there. He's in the Arctic. He's looking for it. Well, they find the ship. Obviously, this is on the bow. You only get a real quick. Well, it fills up the screen, right? They show it for a couple seconds. This is heavy goddess symbolism, and I want to show you. So remember this face, okay? I want to show you where I'm going with this. Look, remember that face, and now look at this face.
Yeah, very similar.
This
Ishtar, huh?
Ishtar.
Ishtar.
Yeah.
Shout out your last episode, Tim. You guys killed that. That was
there probably is a relationship there because those. Well, I don't know the exact esoteric or occult understanding of Charlotte there, but there's a name for those women they put on the front of those ships, and they all seem to have a very similar motif. They look very Ishtar-like. Yeah, that's a good point.
Look at the face. Look at the
Mermaids.
face.
Are we saying mermaids might be real?
This right here looks so much like this. And this is the more popular relief of Ishtar here. This is the one that you see the most that people cite. If you ask somebody like, what does Ishtar look like? They're usually going to point you to this one. And I just think it's the same. I think it looks similar. Now, this is another one. This was called the Ishtar face, where she's carved into that. And, this one looks a little bit different than the others, but still it's another example. So I think that the goddess stuff goes, and here's some Egyptian goddess stuff. I'll just throw it up. This is the sky goddess. As you see this giant goddess sort of hovering over the firmament here. It's a depiction of the sky goddess to the Egyptians. So, and I'm not going to go too far.
Well, again, the society that's a goddess worshiping group, no different than the Templar, no different than the Cathars, no different than that ancient Egyptian Judeo religion I was talking about. Goddess worship.
That Babylon magic boys, huh, Tim?
Get into that Babylon magic, bud.
Yes,
that's them Babylon bad right there. Dog.
Yeah, that's who she is. She's the goddess Babylon.
Name is after that Ishtar Babylon booty.
No, dog, I don't want none of that.
That Ishtar booty. That's what you're after. That sexual fish goddess.
I don't want that stuff coming out of my dreams. What's that one lady that I don't even want to say her name, Tim? You know,
top half fish. Top half fish, bottom half goddess.
I don't even want to say her name, dude.
Starts with an L. Starts with an L and ends with an it. Well,
I don't
this
even,
is
I don't even get up in that because
Dude,
I
you know,
know
bottom half fish. That's a weird decision, sir, but I'll respect it.
I'm
listen,
already
listen.
crazy as it is, bro. I can't handle none of that extracurricular from the spirits. I'm
I
good.
showed what I think is a significant comparison there because it's a major Templar theme. Is what I found is that they worship the goddess, and that sounds kind of like, wait, what are you talking about? Well, I found some old Albert Pike letters where he says he went out into the American West looking for the signs, symbols, and tokens left behind by our brothers who coveted the goddess. That's Albert Pike himself said that. He's talking about the Templars and Masons, but mainly the Templars that came before him who went out west. And what they were known to do were build temples to the goddess. I've got letters from the German Templars who built a temple straight up to Ishtar. So this is I can confirm this. So I don't think it's a coincidence that the goddess figure on the bow of the ship of the Charlotte looks just like Ishtar. When you go back in history and you see that many of these Templars venerated Ishtar, coveted the goddess, in the words of Albert Pike himself. So, and we know, like, also in that Pike letter, he's talking about them going out west. That's we've talked about that, JG. Those are the New Mexico Templar stones that they left out west. So we know they're there.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, sir. That's what I was about to put on a bookend in your statements there. You're spot on, but we see the
In search of
continuity of
silver gold.
activities around the society revolving all of these things. So the folks who led the Mormons out west, their guide was the son of Sacagawea and a French fella named Toussaint. He names some French stuff, croissant, and that fella was the guy who led them. And there's a lot of things that can be said about that man and the Mormons and the survival of America, because these Mexican American wars, et cetera, out there. But the reason what I'm saying that is they had maps, they had surveys. These men were after something, right? They were after sites, they were after temples, much like Albert Pike. And we see the same group of folks doing it. We see Albert Pike's cousin doing it, Lieutenant Zebulon Pike, member of the Society of Cincinnati.
Zebulon,
He
that's
was
who Pike's Peak's named after, right?
Sir, and Pike's Place. You are correct, sir. Pike's Peak.
Yeah, that's a really cool. That's a really cool. You've been up there?
I have. Yes, sir.
It's
very
cool.
nice place.
Did you go to that little restaurant they have up? It's really cool. Me and my cousin went out there within our car. We just drove. It's like 25
Oh yeah, man. That's what I did out there, dude.
Yeah,
and out Route
fun.
50, dude, and I just kept going out Route 50.
Yep. Hit 50 and stayed on it, brother. And Kansas feels
dude,
like
you ever find yourself on Route 50 like that, sir? Stop by Dodge City, Kansas, getting a little tourism bureau. It's a little,
dude.
Railroad shack. Have you been there?
Stopped
Dude?
at Dodge.
Are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me, dude? The
we
old
stopped
lady in
at
there
Dodge.
made me fresh coffee and made me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for me and my dude Wild Card. And we weren't really hungry, but I wasn't going to pass up a PB&J.
Oh, it was a restaurant. No, I didn't go to. I went. I visited. I went
there's a little tourism bureau, like historical society. It's in this little, like, not like a full blown train station, but like an old school, like smaller train station stop there in Dodge City, Kansas. Nice old lady, dude. Very, very nice. I highly recommend her PB&J sandwiches, if anything else.
Heck yeah,
okay, so I'm trying to pick up where we're at here, because
I'm a big
JJ
person.
You would be rolling around with some dude named Wild Card.
Those
dude, Wild Card.
They were after the City of Gold, right, Tim? Out there, I think that's a lot of that Mexican war was about. Was that city out there in Arizona that you were talking in the Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah, that stuff that Augustus LaPlanche and Society of Cincinnati was.
Hey, I think
this
that's the big
around to these bloodlines, dude.
That was the big fish out there. I don't think that San Francisco too, right? They also known that San Francisco was there long.
You have to think, sir.
Aztec treasures out there as well.
The Spanish, who's not just folks like De Soto, who was a descendant of the Templars, who was one of the explorers here, who met a giant, by the way. We also think the folks who did the West Coast Spanish folks. These folks are all descendants from the Templar.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's like these. What's that, sir?
Deep roots out there.
Yeah, so there's been machinations between all these secret societies and activities around America that we're trying to figure out today, right? With these New Mexico, stones and Decalogue stone. There's similarities and patterns we can see across these different sites, obviously, right?
Yes.
But,
And one of those, yes, the New Mexico Decalogue stones is another one that's out there. But when you look at those New Mexico Templar stones, you can straight up Google that and they'll come up if anybody's listening. But there's also, speaking of goddesses, there's an 8-pointed star of Ishtar on the New Mexico Templar stone. So I'm just trying to point this out because this is something I don't ever hear talked about, is this goddess connection with the Templars, but it's there.
yes, sir.
I
Well, no,
promise you it's there.
you're spot on, sir. And again, like I was saying, they call them figureheads, but the things at the bow of the ship there, like we see with Charlotte. So, but
Yeah.
it is rooted. It's rooted in Viking ships and goddess worship, dude. That's what I'm saying, dude. Some ancient goddess worship. Look at this shit. It goes way back.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Oh, and
Are we
you know
going to
what?
find Odinism in here anywhere we're looking?
Well, so when you have if you have goddess worship, I mean, Odinism at some point in time is a corollary
Right.
to that, right?
That's
Right.
yeah.
No, you
those
have
are
a,
best friends.
what you have is you'll have the goddess figure alongside of a prominent male god. In a lot of the older societies, if you go back in a lot of the places where they worshipped Ishtar, that was basically their primary female deity, but then they'd have like a big male deity up as well, Marduk, for instance. And what I found, this is just my opinion, so please don't come at me, listeners, but I think that what you see is with Odin, who's also known as Woden, that's primarily the same as Zeus and Marduk and Jupiter.
Oh, they're the same.
Except
Yeah, you're spot on, sir. Same.
But they exist and were worshipped right alongside of this very powerful goddess figure. In fact, I've just been calling it Goddess World Order.
That's
So-
why I don't see any difference between. So when I say the Society of Cincinnati is a goddess worshiping cult, an ancient alien cargo cult at that, they descends from the Templars. They worship liberty, America. That's their goddess, but it is a combination of other ancient goddesses. You can look at it that way, or you can look at all of those ancient goddesses all being the same goddess with different languages describing them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what else? One of the symbols that I wonder if you guys caught this, but one of the other symbols I saw in National Treasure is what's called the Triquerta. It's a goddess symbol. If we were to pull up Triquerta, everybody would recognize this symbol.
How are you
It's got
spelling this?
it's Triquetra. Triquerta.
Is this why we
Yeah,
find a
yeah.
lot of the?
But
Uh-huh.
don't go find another one, JJ. That's the more Celtic version.
Well, I was about to say that
Circle.
looks very Celtic, dude. That looks very Celtic.
Yeah, so
Very
this
very
one,
Odinist.
there you go. The
Yeah,
one in the
right.
top left, JJ.
Boom.
That one right there. That's in the
Boom.
film. So
All right.
Okay.
now that's a goddess symbol. I went back and looked it up. Traditionally, if you go back far enough, it's an ancient goddess symbol. Also, that symbol was
Well,
found
It's
up in
three
the
Venus symbols
Catskills.
together, right? It's three Venus symbols together, right?
You could say that, yeah. That symbol was found over here up in the Catskills near that Templar goddess temple that we've talked about.
No. Yeah. All right.
So this movie again is mirroring real life stuff.
Oh, they found this on Runestones at Upland. Upland is where they found the demonic Mickey Mouse trinket inside the mound. There, they did a mound survey there. This is it was built around 800 A.D. This is there in Sweden, near the border of Denmark there. But yeah, they got that symbol there on those runestones too. Interesting. All right, this is where they found that demonic Mickey Mouse looking bastard they call a lion, which I assert Mickey Mouse is a demonic being of some sort that used to be worshipped, and we see the trinkets made in its honor and tribute buried in a mound. As we see the same activity being done here in America with gods being worshipped here in America, and the mounds and various other animals and whatnot. They're making trinkets and burying it in a mound in tribute. I would argue the same goes for this place in Sweden. It's interesting they have that on the runestones there. I'll have to look more into that, sir.
So do you guys remember in the movie where he puts on the Ben Franklin glasses and he's looking at
spectacles.
something? Yeah,
Yep.
the spectacles.
That's in Philadelphia.
One of the things that he sees through those, I'm pretty sure, is that triquerta. I think that's where that symbol appears. in the
Oh,
movie.
dude, you're right, dude, because it's telling you on the corner of Wall. It's the Wall Street one they're looking at, right? Yeah, dude.
And
Okay. Up on the
if
church, right?
you
Or the
Yeah, no, they're in Independence Hall. Yeah, they're in Independence
so
Hall. I got a funny Independence Hall story we'll get back to in a minute. Please continue.
but it
sir.
wasn't. But in the movie, that wasn't the original Independence Hall, right? It's the. I thought it was, or when I think of the wrong movie, it was the
You're
church,
talking about
right?
you're talking about their visit in Boston, I believe, or maybe in New York.
Okay.
Two different churches.
Yeah. I knew it was somewhere in the movie. I couldn't.
one
really-
one other thing on that triquerta before I forget. So yeah, you do see that symbol on old sites associated with the Templars and with all this other stuff as well.
It's a Venn
But-
diagram. This is Kamal Harris's favorite thing in life: Venn diagrams.
Yeah, but also, so before I forget though, one of the things you find sometimes next to the triquerta is the Virgo symbol, that M with the Jesus fish at the at the tail end of.
Yep.
That's also straight associated with Estrella, the goddess. Is that she's associated with the golden age and American politics. It'd take me too long to break that down, but this golden age thing that
He's a
Trump's
fertility
talking about,
goddess, right? From
that's
Germanic tribes, right?
it's wrapped up in this Estrella thing. So Virgo is so it's said that in the Silver Age, Estrella left Earth to one day return for the Golden Age, but where she went up into space and she created the constellation Virgo. So Virgo is Estrella, and that's August to September 22nd. That's when the Constitution was signed. It was signed
Yep.
in Virgo in association with Estrella. So you could
Nice.
really fall down the rabbit hole with that one.
That's a good point, though, dude. Because again, this is goddess worship. So when we see this symbol being used, literally in every culture across the world, it looks like, including in Asia stuff, they recognize this in Japan, Buddhism, etc., China, Korea. I've been there. Celtic stuff, Wiccas, again, triple goddess symbol for the New Agers. Well, that's what I mean by over time, these Templar families over time, when we're talking about this ancient feuds, it is a goddess worshiping, fraternal worshiping situations going on where we see the Pope is a very much a hierarchy of paternal orders, right? And then we see again, they've been putting down all these Cathars, all these Templars, all these goddess worshippers over time. Well, over time, all of the royal families from those cultures had combined, and that's what we find that's where the accumulated treasure is. We find in tonight's film, right there.
And William Shakespeare is a pen name, I'm pretty sure, and possibly also a goddess pen name because Wilhelm is helmet. Shakespeare is shake the spear. That's Athena. When you look at depictions of Athena, she wears the helmet and she shakes the spear. And to your point, JJ, I mean, we have a 49-foot statue of Athena here in Nashville. Speaking of monuments and all that stuff and family, like Shakespeare, I think was probably Francis Bacon who wrote New Atlantis. Of course, I think New Atlantis was like the prototype for America. I think Washington and Franklin and Jefferson, they all read New Atlantis. And like that was like their inspiration for building this thing over here in the first place. And Nashville has something to do with New Atlantis, Shakespeare, and goddess worship, possibly. I haven't figured it all out
all
yet.
the lakes. Tim, real quick, all the lakes that we talk about, that is the New Atlantis, brother. I think your theory could be correct there of that.
I tend to side with Augustus LaPlanche, if I may, sir. I believe this was Atlantis.
Hey, there's those legends too, is that the little people of the Native American legends were remnants from
Menuhin, right? Or Menuhin, or Menuheim.
And the mound builders. It wasn't just the little people either. Some of the mound builders, like Edgar Casey was saying that the mound builders were building their mound complexes with all the sacred geometry and high mathematics as like monuments to Atlantis. Like there was like a memory.
Yes, sir. And in addition to that, it's identical to the same ancient alien cargo cult astrotheological philosophies we see out of ancient Egypt with the pyramids. They're trying to
Yeah.
catapult their souls to the same comets and star systems, sir. It's the
Mhm.
same.
I agree, and I
That's
think
what
that
that's what they're doing in the Tower of Babel, right, Tim?
yeah, well, I mean, I think that that was a portal, and that they were trying to get back into. There's two very Christian esoteric ways to view that, possibly, which is
Mount Hermon, sorry, not Tower of Babel, right? Wasn't Mount
oh yeah,
Hermon playing
So,
a big role in that too, right? Of trying to ascend or
they just yeah. Well, you have the legend of the
you
200
gotta
they
school me.
descended.
I'm retarded when it comes to
well,
like
no,
ancient
no, you're right, sir. I look at the
theology.
Tower of Babel no different than look at the Jehovah's Witnesses, this modern incarnation of ancient alien cargo cults in their watchtower. It's the same philosophies and concepts, in my opinion. They're trying to get
Oh,
closer to God or trying to get closer to the aliens, if you know what I mean.
yeah, they were landing the Tower of Babel. I think they were trying to ascend, probably to
Okay.
the like the next realm over, essentially, where the Anunnaki, the Star people would be. That
That's
seems to
kind
be
of
what.
where I was going with it.
Yeah,
Sorry about the Mount Hermon thing. I got those two.
you're good,
Oh,
dude.
you're good, sir. So, in regard to all these treasures of May, though, so we see Tutankhamun, we see the Hooked X, we see this bloodline going back, we see this treasure kind of associated with Tutankhamun, right? I'll bring up the Hooked X here in a second, but what I'm just getting at here with this one is, they found his father next to his burial, and they just call it KV 62, or they call it. They will not recognize Akhenaten. Even though they found his father Akhenaten at the same time his tomb was discovered, and there's the Hooked X we see, right? The Hooked X, right, with the flail and the hook.
Mhm.
So, and we see, so this is over time, these cultures that got shut down, these royal families, like going from here, this is the going back through those Kingdom of Edessa, goes back to Akhenaten, right? So Kingdom of Edessa's, 1,300 years after that is relative to the Knights Templar tales, right? With King Isbizus, or whatever his name is, their Jesus, if you will, and Mary, the king and queen of the Kingdom of Edessa, which is modern day Turkey near San Lerfa, where all those terrorists just happen to be blowing it up in recent years, right? All those ancient sites. That's by no coincidence, I'm sure. But my point being is there's some effort to refuse to ever identify Akhenaten to this day. Furthermore, in 1907, a mummy that could be Akhenaten's DNA tests already have confirmed that this mummy, KV55, is the father of Tutankhamun. We know by all tales Tutankhamun's father is Akhenaten, but they refuse to say that this is Akhenaten. They refuse to say that. Why is that, right? So this ongoing feud of this goddess worshiping bloodline continues to this day by the fact they will not even, since 1907, they refuse to identify this as Akhenaten, despite DNA evidence since then has confirmed it.
Yeah, so on this point, I was reading an old book recently. It's called Cabaret Nagast. It's called The Glory of Kings. It's an Ethiopian text, and I noticed that this was, this is of course the Valley of the Kings, where
Yep.
this guy's from. But in that text, in the Cabaret
same region, right down the
Nagast,
Nile, right? South end of the Nile.
in that book, they talk about how a lot of these guys, like Akhenaten, and were descendants of Ra himself, priest king bloodline, like you're saying.
Yep.
And they definitely worship the goddess.
Yeah, and that's what we're
you
looking at
pull
here.
it up,
This ongoing
Jude.
putting down of these goddess worshiping bloodlines in over the different cultures, and those royal bloodlines they call themselves. I don't recognize their royalty necessarily, but despite having that bloodline myself, I don't give a shit about those matters. This is America. I was told these matters were more of a merit-based system, despite me obviously knowing otherwise. But I'm just saying that's what we're sold it as, right? Anyone can be president, unless
Right.
you're related to the family, right? Why are all U.S. presidents related? Because it's one family.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you on the goddess thing. One more point there. By some strange act of the universe, I just happened to be stumbling the Sumerian Babylonian goddess Ishtar Amana, the goddess Babylon. I was studying her separately from the Templars, and I just happened to figure out that the Templars, many of them worshipped her, and it like shocked me out of my seat. I'm like, what are the chances that I'm looking into the Templars and the goddess
Right.
Ishtar, and they they're both combined. I had no idea. I
colliding at
was
the same time, right?
Yeah, it was like a personal synchronicity,
Right.
and like I said, man, there's those old letters from 1226 where the German Templars are building temples to Ishtar, but they say because she asked them to. Like there was some sort of a connection there that they had. So I would just, back to this movie, I would just suggest that people have no idea how coded these movies are, man.
Right.
Big
What about
time. And
Man's
I'm glad
Musa?
you all are joining me here tonight to get a little GCD on these matters of an occult and esoteric understanding of this film, because we do get a very, and again, I think part of it is the limited kind of hangout nature of telling the tale and making it look fictional. That way you can folks be, ha ha ha, what'd you see, National Treasure?
Yeah.
You stupid. They see in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Did he have any connections to that, Tim or JJ? Mansa Musa? How did he get so rich? What do he have?
Who?
Oh, the pipe.
No, Mansa Musa, the dude from Africa, the richest man in the world.
Sir, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
You never heard of Mansa Musa? Pull it. I got it shared on the screen here. What?
Let me see what you got here. Let me see what you got. Is he in National Treasure? Did he make a cameo?
Oh no. I was sorry. That was just a whole nother side topic. I was just wondering.
I didn't know
if
what's
you
going
have
on
any
for a
Templar
second.
treasure or anything.
Oh, I was like, whoa, dude. Oh, this is related to the Ethiopians then, huh?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. So there is a tale of the Ethiopians having the Ark of the Covenant. I think they're incorrect. Donald Trump's got it.
Well, he could have made a deal with the Ethiopians, JJ.
You know what I'm talking about, though? Right down there past the Valley of the Kings, right in the Southern
Yeah.
Nile. We got the Ethiopians, the old Christian Ethiopians, right before
Right.
Rome took Christians, right?
Yeah.
What were they called, JJ? Those people they got it.
Coptics. There's Coptic
Yeah.
Christians in Egypt today. There's Coptics.
No, the people that
you need
came
a
over
Coptic,
to
dude. I'll get you
America.
Coptic.
The
Okay,
black people
so-
that came over to America. The Moors.
The
Moor
Moors,
people.
dude. You talking about the Moors?
They were more like they weren't necessarily, they were Arabic Africans.
You talking about the Iberians? We talking about we have evidence of the Phoenicians, the not Iberians, the folks from Iberia, but
Well, so the Moors invaded Spain. They invaded Iberia in 730 AD.
Yeah. So there's people of those ethnic groups over here. Do you want to call them Iberian? Do you want to call them Moors? Do you want to call homeboy that started the Templars a Moor because he was a Sufi Moor of his mother's side, I believe.
Yeah, there was one of the guys was of Moor descent. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I mean, this goes back to that book I was talking about. It goes through all this stuff. Landon, like this. I'm sure this guy's.
We don't have to
read
spend time
the
on this. Y'all got to keep me on track. I don't know why I have Mansa Musa on my brain.
Yeah, but I'll tell
No
you
worries,
this,
man.
The most, like a lot of this, like the names, the occult orders, the true activities that most people, like JJ says, laugh at. Oh, did you see? Ha ha ha! I saw it too. Even the goddess worship. It's all there. It's all in this film, man. My conclusion is that whoever wrote this script was clued in. I don't know if they were Templars, but they knew a thing or two about them. That's the thing that. I mean,
Probably a process member, huh, JJ?
I looked into
The
one of the
main
guys.
screenwriter was Jim Koof. The other ones were like a script doctors, but this was the main guy.
I looked into one of the other guys. I'm trying to find his name right now.
The Witterbys. Yeah, they're like script doctors.
Oh yeah, he
Right.
produced Rush Hour.
Yeah, they come in. The
Chris
studio needs somebody to church it up a bit. This is where they go, right?
Okay, well, they had three for this movie. There were three people. One of the guys was this cough. One was
Can you see?
Warren-
Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Yep, y'all can see it. Yep. I didn't know if you
One
could see it. I
was-
was looking at it.
one was
What's his-
Oren Aviv. I looked into him. He seemed like a typical Jewish Hollywood guy who was head of production at Disney at one point. So who knows who these guys are working with in the occult sense.
Well,
Because-
I would say if we're
coincidence,
gonna
go back.
point to anybody
JJ.
knowing anything, it'd be this guy, I suppose.
Go back to
He's my
Cormac. I
best
just
guess.
noticed something.
Hold on, sir. What is it?
Go back to your Cormac. There was something really weird that you missed.
Yeah, the Wibberleys. Yeah, these
No,
they're
yeah,
a fairly well-known
Look-
writing team.
Look whose birthday's today.
Oh yeah, Cormac, huh? Yeah, I mean
Happy birthday,
he's Scottish, right? Cormac Wibberley. It's Cormac's a Scottish first name. I don't know. I could look into
What
this
do you
guy's
think
history
about
more,
that?
but I think these folks are more of the folks they brought in to church it up. I was saying, and if I was looking at anybody, this guy would be the guy I would think would be in the. If anyone on the team that we're told who wrote it, right, actually are in the know, I would point to this guy. But I would also argue perhaps we're just told these people wrote it and they were given these ideas.
Well,
Probably so.
either way, the occult element made its way into the film. The knowledge of such things somehow seeped into this film, and I would suggest that this is just a microcosm for a bigger thing that we see in Hollywood in general. That this occult stuff is interwoven with our entertainment. I mean,
well, you ain't kidding, sir. So this man, Jim Coof, is famously known for writing the film Rush Hour, which was produced by Bob Cocaine Evans' underling, Brett Ratner, and his business partner, our former U.S. Treasury Secretary, Stephen Mnuchin, a skull and bonesman.
yeah. I mean, look, man, I think I have a picture of it. I can pull it up in a second. I saw something the other day where this guy was filming. He was down in Hollywood and he's filming. He was on top of a building, filming the building over, and it's the building where they shoot Jimmy Kimmel live. And it's an old Masonic temple on Hollywood Boulevard. And the top of, I got the quote here. Let me find it real quick. The top of the building where Jimmy Kimmel does his live has a quote, and it says, "Freemasonry builds its temples among the nations and the hearts of men." And it's like, it even looks like a temple. It's a full-blown Masonic getup.
So you got a picture? Let me bring that up for you. I was lost in trying to look at
sure.
Mnuchin's credits.
I'll pull it up.
That's
the shot. That's all I got to hear.
What
don't worry about me. Don't worry about me, dude. I just go off on weird.
What happened, dude? Who got shot?
You said Tim. You said Jimmy Kimmel got shot.
I was talking about where he shoots his show is a Masonic temple. I'm about to pull it up.
I'm just messing.
Well, while you're pulling that up, when you're pulling that up, I may have to retract my previous statements. It seems the Wibberleys may be more in the know. They're the ones who wrote number 2, which is, in my opinion, despite the volume of esoteric and occult understandings, number 1. Number 2, they went off the deep end, dude. They include a very important character. So Homeboy's descendant, he's a descendant of General Wilkinson. More Society of the Cincinnati stuff. So we have the hereditary member. I don't want to deter us too far here real quick, but no, that's landed again. My apologies. But you see what I'm saying? How they're really embedding some really actual factual things in here that you try to describe later. Folks, like, oh, that's ridiculous, because we'll look at this temple real fast before I go off on my tangent. My apologies. I just want to point out General Wilkinson's the man behind the Aaron Burr plot. It's that plot, the coup against America, and the Society of the Cincinnati coup right after they got that Louisiana Purchase from the Kensington Runestone biz.
And that bleeds over into the Civil War too, right, JJ?
It's all Civil War, dude. The society fractured in April of 1860. The South Carolina chapter quit.
Yep.
In April of 1861, lo and behold, the Civil War begins in Charleston, South Carolina.
It wasn't about black or white, man. It was a daggone.
It's about the society. It's about treasure,
real estate,
in my opinion. Real estate and treasure.
Real estate grab.
Well, and treasure, dude. There's treasure. There's most certainly treasure in the dispute of the Civil War. When you see the raids being done deep into Union territory, raiding Freemasonic lodges and burning them, some of those built on mounds, I have to argue there's after some intrinsic value that were in the mounds that were then put in the Masonic lodges and were hidden, generally speaking, like the stuff we're talking about here tonight, the national treasure.
Yeah, so this is just a picture of the old Masonic temple down on Hollywood Boulevard that has a crazy quote on it. I'm just trying to find the quote again.
I've never been to California.
Really, dude? I love the state of California.
I've never flown in a plane.
What, dude? I'm offended.
So
have you never flown in a plane?
Freemasonry.
Have you seen the news lately, dude?
I was about to say
I've been right my whole life.
I was about to say you've come at a time in aircraft travel I don't recommend anyone flies. I haven't been on a plane in 7 years.
I have never been on one in my life, and I'm definitely not going to start now. Are you kidding?
I don't recommend it, dude. I quit flying 6 years ago, and not only is it a complete blast trying to get through any kind of thing they call security. Mind you, they've secured nothing. Their fail rate is near 90%. They've saved nothing throughout the tenure of these security programs. And then you got the
raped.
flight problems, the inspection problems, the whole dropping out of the air problems. You know what I mean?
I don't feel like getting willfully raped. You know what I mean? Like I'm not down with that.
Dude,
from
you don't want to get
TSA.
radiated. You want to get raped or radiated, dude? You want the raped or radiated program?
Dude, I can't let it hit my 5G, man. It's going to connect my 5G.
I won't go near an airport, sir. Yeah, I find it filthy. I find the whole mess.
My
of it. People
COVID-19
running, people
vaccine,
separated, dude.
my
Unsavory
booster will
bunch.
tick it off.
Dude, yeah, you've come at a time I don't recommend air travel, but I used to love air travel, man. I've flown everywhere, dude. Tim?
Dude, in my time, JJ, how could I ever trust? I mean, look when I was born. 9/11 happened when I was 1 year old. Like I'm
don't disagree with
done
you.
from the beginning. You know what I
I
mean?
don't disagree. I don't disagree at all, actually.
Like the
Tim,
time to grow up in.
let's get back on track with this pipe. What were your thoughts on the Michon pipe?
I
The
thought that was
Michon
Hunter
pipe.
Biden's crack pipe for a second.
It might be Hunter Biden's crack pipe. Did Tim freeze up? Is Tim?
No, I'm here.
Laptop.
No, I'm
Tim,
here.
Tim, are you there? Okay.
I'm here.
Is this laptop in the National Treasure movie? Is it
Right.
like one of the treasures? Hunter's laptop? Like
Dude.
they open up. Dude, that would be a hilarious comedy rendition of that. Like they go in there and they open up the box with the treasure, and it's freaking Hunter Biden's laptop, and it's doing some crazy shit on there or something. Like, man, damn.
Dude, first of all, I will not sit here and let you besmirch our future president, Hunter Biden. That's not going to happen. I'll watch it.
Shout out Hunter Biden, man. I want one of those artworks.
Crack doctor extraordinaire. So speaking of pipes, though, what is it? This has got to have some. I've kind of thought maybe over time of seeing this film, but this has some, some historical nature. Is this little device maybe? But I mean, maybe it's just a plot device in the film. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. What are your all's thoughts?
Yeah, I felt like maybe I should have looked into it more as well. I was more
Yeah, I just glanced. Is this thing real?
looking
It's gotta
into
be based. I feel like it's got to be based on something, dude. They're going to create this whole idea about this. This is the key. This literally is the key to the whole thing. It's the plot device that gets him through
the
this
whole
journey
movie.
of the search.
Well, listen, guys, it's a ship. We have to start with that. Okay, it's a ship, and I think a lot of the pirate lore goes back to the Phoenicians and the whole
Right.
sailing from the Mediterranean to distant lands thing. Like we talked about earlier, you've got islands in Lake Michigan where Ogham was found, indicating it was a Phoenician port. People have been coming over here for a very long time, as well as the Templars. And we've got all kinds of indications that the Templars were coming over here. I mean, I brought it up earlier, 1172, I think, is where they say they actually wrecked one of their ships on accident right outside of Newfoundland. And, Scott Walter's got all this stuff saying that they found it. So the whole, I don't know, is it a nod to that? Like us sailing, we've been seafaring for a very long time. This is kind of our thing. It's kind of like,
That's a good point. I mean, that is how I often argue why these society members are such great surveyors and mappers, because it's in their bloodlines. They were taught it, because going back to the Templars, to able to be a culture that navigates the sea as well as they did, or their predecessors, the Vikings, as well. They learned it from somewhere, right? Who's their daddy? What did they do? Their daddy was a Viking. So we can see that this gets passed down, and you have to have a very advanced understanding of mathematics and astronomy in order to navigate the seas like that, especially at night.
Right.
I think what I focused on most with this movie, not that there's nothing to this pipe. There's probably all kinds of stuff with this. But I was more looking at the monuments, to be honest with you guys. Like just the obelisk factor here. Because I don't know, Landon, you asked me something earlier in the show. You said something about an episode of mine. Were you talking about the one where we talked about Cleopatra's Needle?
No, I haven't listened.
Okay, never mind. Well, I don't remember what you said, but
I'd like to hear more about Cleopatra's Needle, because that's one of the most fascinating giant dick statues I'm interested in. Because
Cleopatra's heroin needle?
Yeah, the epicenter. So those sat at the gates of Heliopolis there in ancient Egypt, as we're talking about here, these ancient tales of Egypt. And the epicenter of activity as far as this tales, I know there's Babylonian tales of this missing phallus situation, giant dick statue business, but regarding ancient Egypt, the origin story of ancient Egypt revolves around a mound, those two obelisks or dick statues, and the ancient city of Heliopolis. One of those Cleopatra's Needle sits in London, the other one in New York City, but those things are very old.
yeah,
Rooted in a story about mounds.
So Cleopatra's Needles in Central Park, and now, because Vanderbilt, a bloodline family, a bloodline gentleman, an initiate, he's a Freemason. He brought it over here from Alexandria. And that's interesting too, because there is an Alexandria reference in National Treasure. If you remember when they go into the vault,
Yep.
she goes, the female character is like, oh, scrolls from Alexandria or something like that. So anyway, that's where this came from. Now, I just had a guy on.
Forget J.P.
This
Morgan,
was
sir.
my whole
J.P. Morgan
point.
was involved in this as well, and he is was a hereditary member of the Massachusetts chapter
So
of the society.
if I just my train of thought just like flipped and burned. But
My apologies, sir. Let's burn one down.
yes, so yes, I got into it. Yes, I got
Okay, I
into
only
it.
listened to like 40 minutes of it or 30 minutes of it so far.
Well,
so.
you know, if we're talking about this connections to this ancient Egypt stuff, there is some natures to these things we see in the film. Why are
So
they
the
doing
guy,
this? Right?
the guy comes on my show and we get to talk about Cleopatra's Needle. That comes from Alexandria and all this and that. And I think my whole point in this is like the monuments, because we see a lot of monuments in this movie. So my thoughts kind of do drip to Cleopatra's Needle. And the guy that came on my show was talking about how when they brought that over here, they opened up the base and they found all these symbols and tools and stuff in there. They found a checkerboard floor or something in there. And apparently that checkerboard thing goes back to the Templars, not necessarily the Masons. The Masons got it from the Templars, but that's another side tangent. But he said that when
that's the equilibrium, right? The yin and the yang kind of
it has something to do with that.
Their thought process,
the reconciliation of opposites, as the process calls it.
So he said when they put that Cleopatra's Needle in Central Park, that 50 to 90,000 Freemasons showed up to town, and they had some sort of a ceremony when they put the obelisk in. And I looked it up, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. It was in 1881, very hot year in my research. That's when the Powell doctrine rolled out. That, in a nutshell, John Wesley Powell's the reason why we don't know about a lot of hidden history. So that was all right then and there. And also, in the 1880s, I think it also goes back to what Rudolf Steiner said, where he said that by the late 1880s, the American government was almost completely ran by the mystery schools. And here you have 60,000 plus mystery school members showing up for this ceremony. So there's a lot going on with the obelisk in 1880s and all that. And like these are what happened in the late 1800s in general is that these occult elites got too rich, got too powerful. And I mean, look what they did to our history. They erased it, So
started doing some rich people weird, man. That's what happens. You get too much money, you don't have anything else. You can't buy, you've already bought everything. You know what I mean?
Screw some of these Masons, man, for real, because and I usually don't go too hard on the Masons, but like now that I know what I know and that some of them were just these rich Darwinist Marxists, it's like, Clinton Roosevelt, he was a New York politician, lawyer guy. He's in the family. He's a Mason. He's in the family with FDR, who was also a Mason. Roosevelt funded Karl Marx to write the Communist Manifesto. So they're all in communion with each other. It's a big old milieu.
I would argue, sir, what you're clearly identifying very astutely is what I call the anti-liberty faction of the Society of Cincinnati. It's a pretty well-defined faction. They do a lot of things that are anti-American, what could be described by folks like Bill Hicks / Alex Jones as the globalists. But
meanwhile, modern day Americans have no clue what's going on. That's why I think it's good.
And they're happy to have us clueless, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're the profane.
Yeah.
Yep. Regardless if you have the same blood as them, you're not initiated, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to get too serious here, but everything you've been told, everything just about you've been told is a lie crafted by these people. I mean, that's the world you were born into, Landon.
Tim.
Dude, you mean to tell me, sir, that George Washington never cut down a cherry tree? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
That's a hard pill to swallow, bro.
Yes.
That's why it's so hard. But if you just let go, like I feel like you get further. At least you can get some comedic value out of these heads. You know what I mean? Like That's all.
Maybe I wasted your time because I escaped an ancient alien cargo cult that I never really bought into American history in the first place, courtesy of them. So I have that working in my favor. But yeah, dude, like everything I got. I often attribute my Mormon upbringing to my conspiratorial natures because they're the ones who told me the world's a conspiracy. You know, a very Gnostic belief system there.
Yep.
Everything's of the demiurge kind of ideas, right?
Yeah.
Of the devil.
Well, you said
that's Jim Garrison for me, I guess. He's kind of my introduction into conspiracy from a young age.
Well, JJ, you said George Washington. I mean, and I automatically thought about something I found recently. Washington was warned by a friend about they were exchanging letters, and Washington's friend was like, "Hey, have you heard about this Bavarian Illuminati?" And they had this correspondence about them, and because that started up around 1776, I believe.
You are correct, sir.
The friend was telling Washington, "Hey, watch out for the Illuminati because they might infect and creep into your American Freemason lodges." And like they were talking about how they were these like godless infidels who wanted to take over nations and governments and all that.
Terrorists is what we would call them nowadays, but
right.
But what if that eventually happened? Like I think Washington was able to sort of keep them at bay for the time being.
For a little bit.
Once you get to the 1880s, has the Bavarian Illuminati gotten its claws into the American Freemasons?
I can tell you precisely who the Bavarian Illuminati is, sir, and that's the Golden Dawn and the Ordo Templi Orientis. They were brought up on charges of these things, and King Charles, as they call him, I don't recognize these titles. His grandfather, or disregard, was his great grandfather, is the guy who got Theodore Roos and Aleister Crowley off of charges. So they literally reignited by their own words, the Adam Weishaupt Bavarian Illuminati in Bavaria, because again, the Windsors, they're Bavarian, they're not British. So King Charles can go himself. We left that place in 1776. We're the original Brexit, sir. So I do think there's people that call themselves the Illuminated Ones. I do think that is what I'm saying as well. The same factions apply. You have the liberty and anti-liberty factions of these things. People want to say that, oh, look, George Washington was in the Illuminati. I mean, I doubt it, buddy. Well, show me the application of his actions and the evidence that they exhibit, and there is none. Right? That's what I'm saying. So I'm often circumspect about a lot of things that are presented publicly from historical letters. Like, why are these dudes writing each other in a public fashion like that when they're at war? Right? No, you mean to tell me these are probably coded messages? All right. We see a lot of that in tonight's film, though, right? Everything we see of these men who started this nation are writing encoded messages. We don't apply these concepts in our real world in an application of understanding of these real world letters because we're sold these are fiction. It's in a movie. And it's not real life, but it is real life. It's not fiction. We're sold as fiction. So when I see stuff like this, my brain hole goes to things like this. That thing you brought to my brain hole, sir, Tim. Again, we're talking about national treasured and buried secrets of the Society of the Cincinnati, not the Masons. We look here and find a box under a Jefferson Davis Confederate monument, right? And as you point out, a lot of treasures, undescribed treasures. They've been very kind of hush-hush about that since its discovery, right? 2022.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's the train of thought I was on with the Cleopatra's Needle thing is they've got these things hidden in these monuments.
Absolutely. Who was Jefferson Davis's daddy? What did he do? Oh, was he a member of the Society of Cincinnati? Shocker.
Right.
And he marries the daughter. She's named after General Knox. She's the daughter of a different general.
Dude, JJ, look where he's from.
Yes, sir.
Look where Jefferson Davis is from, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, dude.
Not only do I know that site very well, sir,
he's
got the second largest giant dick statue in America on that site.
We know these guys hid stuff in the monuments. Potentially.
Yeah, so they got that, dude. So no, if I may just bring those 2 points into the closer, sir, because Landon just beat me to it, kind of. You beat me to it, sir. You in my brain hole. So there's a giant obelisk on Jefferson Davis's birthplace. If there's a treasure in the statue in Richmond, and there's a stuff you found in the folks found, as you point out, in the Cleopatra's Needle obelisk giant dick statue. Why would there not be the same in Jefferson Davis's down in Hopkinsville, Kentucky?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's Templar stuff, secret society stuff encoded in most of these monuments. And I even read something the other day, and I need to confirm this, but the Statue of Liberty apparently had a message on it at one point that said something about this is a gift from France to the first Freemasonic Republic. So
again, these are public statements, sir. Who designed the Statue of Liberty? Was it a member of the French chapter of the Society of Cincinnati? Have you answered correct?
Isn't that a transgender? Isn't a transgender anyways? It's like tied to what's the name of that?
Call it androgynous.
I would call it Lady Liberty, America.
Lady Liberty.
Yeah, but what call her a lot of things.
What was the name of that thing, Tim? The transgender from that cut his dick off. You know what I'm talking about. A Greek. He's a Greek god.
Oh, yeah. Well, it.
I don't know that one.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name of that one.
I'm looking up right now.
But a lot of the old
Chrono, or no, not Chrono.
A lot of the old gods are androgynous.
Regardless, lopping dicks off in the old age, huh?
Before they even cut things off, they were androgynous to begin with.
I looked into this. It was crazy.
You mean to tell me, sir, there's not a treasure underneath this, dude? Let's go get some shovels, fellas. Let's start digging.
Well, that's the thing, in the movie, Cage and his crew finds out that the treasure map is on the Declaration of Independence. And that might be a moment where the film switched to fiction for a moment. But maybe not really. Maybe not really, because
go ahead.
Anyways.
Grow brighter with each.
I'm willing to believe there could be some validity to that.
What? The transgender goddess of Statue of Liberty?
Dude, are we talking about Colonel Pritzker again? She's been serving our country, sir, in the U.S. Army honorably.
I'm looking this up. This is real.
She's the most hideous looking creature you've ever seen. In fact,
God.
No, you don't think there's any? So you're saying this is way more fiction then? There could not. I'm just saying let's go check out the back of that declaration. Let's just make sure there's nothing back there.
Well, one of the crew members said in the movie, like,
there's a moment where your whole world stops.
JJ, are you going to play this every time I talk?
No, I was trying. Was that not muted? Oh, I thought that was muted.
No,
my bad.
No, he kept playing every time Tim was trying to talk.
I thought it was muted the entire time. My apologies. I couldn't hear it on this end.
No, what are we trying to?
You guys can
just
hear
play
that?
it. Play it.
No, go ahead. I was just trying to get to that ad. Sir. Go ahead.
One of the guys.
You can hear that, dude. What's going on right now? Go ahead, please. My apologies. Freaked out. Gremlins are acting up.
Bro, I don't even remember. I had it twice, and I've lost it.
It's Addis.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Goddess Addis, JJ.
So the map. So this is the scene in the map. They get the magic wand, if you will, kind of that plot device of the ship pipe. Becomes very handy, not only in solving these riddles and keys, though, right? It actually becomes an actual key at one point. But into that key, they get those little spectacles where they can now read the back of the Declaration of Independence, right? That's where we see the tri. What'd you call that? Not transgender, but what was the name of that symbol?
Trifecta.
Triquartas.
Triquarta.
So
yeah.
I did immediately comically dispute your claims that this was a pure fiction. So I would like to hear your opinion on that, sir. You do think that this was a pure plot device? That there could be no valid nature to this, perhaps.
Which part?
Any kind of secret on the back of the Declaration of Independence. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. I'm just
saying the idea that it's always going to be safe, like they say in the film. I mean, I'm just saying I know this is in the film. I realize it's the plot line, but they tell you it's going to be safe. Well, that's a good point. It is going to be safe.
Yeah,
right.
I think
considering it's the real one.
Regardless, okay, yeah. So in the film, it says they're saying that they show that the treasure maps on the Declaration of Independence, and I'm saying not necessarily, but there was also a line in there where one of the crew members said, well, maybe we should borrow the Declaration of Independence because the treasure of the Knights Templar is the treasure of all treasures. And again, that, however, is potentially a statement with some truth to it. So I think, personally, I think that there is still Templar treasure out there, to your point here. And maybe some of that is, nodded to or encoded in some of these monuments. I've got a quote here. This would be a perfect time to bring this up because I heard this the other day and I saved it. There's a quote here from one of the modern day Templars where he says, and he said this like this year or last year. This is very recent. He says, the Templars continue to sit on a number of vaults within the Americas, which we hope to reveal to the world. Contained within these vaults are artifacts like the arks and treasures, which can be used for the benefit of all mankind.
Yeah.
Do what that with you.
Dude.
But they say they still have the vaults. And I know that they came over here and created the vaults. So, yeah, there's a lot of truth to the movie.
I went on this theory about where these vaults and treasures may be, right? And if you think about it, why did they build the national highway system in the 1950s? Is it purely economical? Is there just to move some shit around that was already here?
That's probably a good equation. It's also Masonic too. That whole highway system is.
There you go.
Because it ties back.
Very ritualistic and occultist.
Yeah, doesn't the mileage or whatever of like 2,900, whatever it is, it adds up to be like 33 or some shit, divided by.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, JJ?
I'm not familiar with that, sir, but I mean, these folks do love numbers.
Yeah, it's very new. I went on a huge rabbit hole in that for a little bit.
But the actual composition of the road materials are even occulted in nature, I believe, as far as
yeah,
kind of the ritualistic approach of how they created these materials, much like that solid state rocket fuel of Jack Parsons.
What's it, Jack Parsons? Yeah, that
which they actually use the actual asphalt from America's roadway systems in that solid state rocket fuel. Just saying.
Yep. And Penny Royal brought up that point about that, didn't he? He talked about tying that
Shelby Downer's father,
John Shelby Downer's father, who was actually an asphalt layer, right? He laid the asphalt.
He was an inventor of that asphalt as well, sir. Right. He was a Freemason, but he was also very likely a member of the Society of the Cincinnati, and actually in Cincinnati. Weird.
Did they bring that up in here? No, I don't think they did.
No, they didn't. I just did his histories. The Downers are Scotsmen. They're I believe they were Scotsmen. Yeah, he fits them. I tabled that for a different day. Did y'all know there's multiple Declarations of Independence? The Society of Cincinnati headquarters, New Hampshire, there has this American Independence Museum. They have an Exeter broadside copy that was found there, and that's why they made it a museum. But there is other copies out there. So there's other copies. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying you could have like some fake treasure maps if you wanted some fake treasure maps out there. You could have the real treasure map. You could have other copies. So let's start comparing and contrasting the backsides of all of these documents. We'll go down to brass tacks real fast. That's all I'm saying.
It's kind of true.
Yeah, and there's also a moment in this movie that caught my eye where he's going in to warn the lady that the Declaration of Independence is going to be stolen by the main bad guy in the film, right? Like he's going in, he goes to the FBI and they don't listen to him. Homeland doesn't listen to him, so he goes to this lady and he gives her like a fake last name. And he's like, well, it's because my family name doesn't get a lot of respect in the academic circles because they're known for spouting these conspiracies,
Right.
Which is awesome because I definitely that resonates with me.
That's
But anyway, he says his name is Ben Brown. So he changes his name to Ben Brown. It's either Paul Brown or Ben Brown.
Paul Brown, yes, sir. Paul Brown.
Okay. So, but I think that's got to be a nod to Dan Brown. Just want to point that out. Who, story for another time, Dan Brown has a lot of CIA ties.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. That's one way to put it. But
I
check
would
this out, dude.
suggest that he's a CIA liaison with some of these orders to this
I think
day,
you're spot
maybe
on.
even the Templars. So
I didn't consider that being a nod to him, but I think that's a good suggestion, sir. I do appreciate using your brain hole for God's intended purposes. Not as some folks do an oversized paperweight. But look, dude, if what I'm inferring may be correct. We got an estimated 200 copies of the Declaration of Independence. It was only a number of these have been found. This one specifically in Exeter, New Hampshire, which folks can go see at the Society of Cincinnati Museum there, the New Hampshire chapter.
that's where they had a big old UFO event too, I think.
It's right down the street, isn't it? From an ancient alien cargo cult headquarters of the state, isn't it? Isn't that weird? Isn't that fun? Because that is, again, we're talking about goddess worship, but again, we're talking about folks who do believe in an ancient alien belief system that was seated in this earth, and they believe they will return their souls to the star systems. They're serious. They're real serious about Sirius.
Okay,
From the ancient Egyptians to the mound builders, they're all doing serious stuff of launching their souls in these ceremonies. So this is what they're building these alignments for, right? You mentioned before.
With Howard Stern on Sirius XM.
What is the
dude? And it's the dog star, and their logo is a dog, right?
All right. So what's the overall thing you're saying, JJ, about these Declaration of Independences in multiple copies? What's that all about?
I'm just saying, why do they do this, or what am I inferring?
What are you inferring? Because I hadn't heard about this. Are there other?
So I'm inferring if there was a treasure map, right? You would make false treasure maps in which to deter folks from got their hands on.
You fucker! I was getting ready to say it. I was going to say that would be
brain hole, sir.
You got 200 chances or 199 chances of finding the wrong one.
There you go, sir. Bingo. And if you were to make a treasure map, this is how you would do it. The one copy would be safe in theory, right? That could be a false copy as well. One of the other copies could be the real copy, but you're gonna have one real copy and 199 fake treasure maps, dude. They're gonna go city slicker style, dude. They're gonna send you down a wrong road for looking for Curly's gold. That's a 90s deep cut. I do that one of those every show now. It's for my son's edification. He enjoys those, not for anyone else. City Slickers, the Legend of Curly's Gold.
Yeah,
you all familiar with that one?
Wouldn't
that make a lot of sense though? If the National Treasure story was indeed a treasure map of sorts on one of these copies, right? Why is this the first time? I'm not besmirching out of you gentlemen, because I didn't learn about this until I went to this museum. So I had no idea there was additional copies of the Declaration of Independence.
I didn't either. I just figured that out today.
But wouldn't that be a wild goose chase, right? You got 199 fake treasure maps and one real treasure map.
Mm-hmm.
And then check this out. What happens if this would be also cool too if I was designing this. Okay, so I'm going to have 200 treasure maps, but you need like 60 of them to get the full treasure map. You know what I mean? Some people might, like one faction might have knowledge of this piece. The other faction might have knowledge of that piece. Now, this is me
I like it.
This is me going straight up schizophrenic here, but
no, dude, that's how they operate, bud. What you're pointing out is a good point.
You know what I mean? Like 60, like you'd have to obtain like 70 of the original constitutions in order to piece together the words for the map, and then you still have to piece them together. You know what I mean? And maybe maybe the plan was to get all the families working together instead of against each other. That way, you could create a common goal. That's also a way to do that too.
Did you guys catch
it's like
No, I just came up with that in my brain.
Well done. Yes, sir. What you got, Tim?
Did you guys catch the 322 in there?
No, skull and bone, little skull and bone reference. Where at?
I'm pretty sure it was.
It's this scene, right? Isn't that the address, right?
It was the time on the clock tower. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, was it? Okay, let's go back then.
Oh, I don't know exactly what scene it is, but
no, it's the scene right here, the clock tower, right? You are correct, sir.
Huh.
Well done. 322 indeed, huh?
Yeah, so I just thought maybe that's a little skull and bones.
Yep, that's for sure skull. That's for sure skull and bones. It's not 320. It's not 330. It's freaking 322. Dude, I think they have to put that numbers and shit in there to harness the energy. Like, I don't think like you can just like say it or whatever. Like, it's not just to nod to it. I think it's part of the ritual. It's part of the magic show. that they're performing. They have to get that energy somehow, right? I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm
Yeah.
going with.
And also,
Now there probably
there's
is a
al-
significance to it like that, right? Like it's charging a sigil or some shit, right?
Yeah. It's a battery charger. You know what I mean? It's juice
Yeah.
amping up the magic. I don't know.
I
they
think
also see a
sounds
33.
legitimate to me, sir.
What's
Go
up?
ahead. Go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead,
I don't
Tim.
have anything to say.
Jesus. They also see a 33-degree Master Mason symbol in the movie as well.
What?
I think
That's towards the end, right when they're into the cellar.
it's towards the end. They break through. It's on a, I don't know. It's like the covering to a cavern, to a shaft, and that's what they break through. But before they break through, they're like, oh, that's a 33-degree Master Mason symbol, and that's how they get into the larger vault. Which when I saw that, I thought maybe that's a nod to the Oak Island treasure.
Oh wow.
But maybe, right? Maybe. But also one of the bad guys' goons is like, once they get in there, he's looking around, he's like marveling at it. He's like, how do a bunch of people with hand tools build this?
Right.
And then Cage says something like that, the same way they built the pyramids or the Great Wall of China. And I thought about it for a
wow.
minute. I'm like, because they left it at that in the film, and I was like, okay, what do they mean by that? There's got to be some meaning to that, because there was no follow through.
That's a good pickup. Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I'm thinking maybe that's a nod to some of the older Masonic legends, like the legends of the 9 vaults. They're in a vault in the movie. So what if it's a reference to the deep 9 vault legend that the Masons are?
What's
I don't
that?
know that, sir. What is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so it used to be online, and I started talking about it, and it's not online anymore. So take that, what you will. I don't know if it was because of me or what, but probably wasn't. Probably just a coincidence. But anyway, I think they reserve that info now for initiates. But at one point, I was able to read up on it. It's called 9 Vaults, and it's about Tubal Cain and Enoch
Oh.
Oh shoot! Yeah,
building
that's,
the
we're talking the
pyramids.
Nephilim, baby. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah.
want to hear.
Yeah, it goes back to that.
Isn't
back to the
Tubal
next-
Cain just more dick references?
Well,
Two
that's
balls, one cane.
his symbol is 2 balls and a cane, but that
Well,
probably
seems like
came
he's dicking his
after.
balls, right?
Yeah.
What's his brother's name? Ham.
But I'm saying no, but to the idea we had earlier about one group and one family, right? If this all starts back as we repeatedly get the same sex cult, whether it's the Venus symbols of the vulva, right, or the obelisks of the dicks, we get the same sex cult references and symbols throughout all of their, imagery and constructions. And I'm arguing it is one family, and that family started by calling somebody 2 balls and 1 cane, and they keep calling somebody 2 balls and 1 cane today, 2 cane. Just dick and balls.
Mm.
I mean, again, I'm just putting my brain hole in the mind of a sex cult. We see sex cult, the Ishtar stuff, all of that sex cult imagery, right?
Right.
So in the legend, these were the descendants of Cain. That's where the Cain comes from. So he was named a variation of Cain's name, which they came up with Tubal Cain. He was Lamech's kid.
Right.
And they
Cain or
they
something like
had
that,
the
right?
knowledge from, according to the legend, this was knowledge that had been given to them from the Garden of Eden. It was Adam was given all this. He's the first man. He's given all this crazy knowledge, like alchemy, everything you can imagine, like Solomon's wisdom type of a thing on another level. So of course he teaches his son some of that. Cain kills his brother, leaves, goes and starts another civilization, begins the line of Cain, and that's in that Cain, that lineage. You have the bad Enoch, and you have Lamech and his kids. Well, according to 9 vaults, the Masons trace their heritage back to this moment where these guys knew that a flood was coming, a deluge was coming. So Lamech's kids, Tubal Cain, Nama, Jubal Cain, take all the knowledge they had from the garden that was given to them by their ancestor Cain and put it on tablets and stuff and store it in a vault beneath the Great Pyramids and other places. Because they were
happens in
Nephilims,
mounds.
because they knew the flood was coming and it had something to do with the ridding the
Yep.
earth, the Nephilim and all
Because they were sleeping with the girls, dude. You can't be doing that, man.
Right.
They weren't allowed to do
No,
that.
and there we go. It's sex cult activity. Adam and Eve, there was sex cult activity there. Eve wasn't his first. He had another side piece, Lilith. People often.
Well, that's okay. Well, I mean, that's
I didn't want to say that name tonight, JJ, but somebody intended on saying it.
Is
Well,
there,
I'm
well,
not
is
gonna
there
split
a different,
hairs.
different interpretation? Is that not a side
oh,
piece?
for
Or
sure, there's a different interpretation.
That could be varied for sure.
Yeah,
I would argue that one interpretation is that's sex cult activity, and we see that represented in their imagery, their names, or some.
Where does Ham come into play, Tim?
that's Noah's son. That's Noah's son.
What's his other brother? He had a brother named Shem.
Yeah. Shem,
that
Ham,
the same-
Japheth.
They had another brother named Curly.
Here?
The Three Stooges.
They were in the line of Adam, yes, as well.
Okay.
They were considered to be the good line, and then Cain was considered to be the bad line, and that's considered to be the seed war if you go by certain texts. So
That's Gary Wayne.
Oh, I'm not inferring the viewpoints I'm espousing here or perspectives are not my own, nor do I infer that they're Christian views. I'm saying it's the cultist views. This is what the cult,
right? The
right?
Lilith
See their
thing,
imagery, their monuments, their names.
the Lilith thing is Gnostic, JJ. So yeah, that's what some people believe. But that's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at, though. That's what I'm saying. This is the philosophies and perspectives of the people that build these things. We're talking about these ancient secrets of, if we will, the Serpent Mound in Adams County, Ohio, or the Sperm and Egg Mound, because it used to have an obelisk.
Dude, I thought we were going to make it. We're at 2 hour mark. I thought for sure we were going to make it without talking about Serpent Mound.
I can't. I'm contractually obligated.
Hey, he's got a point. It's kind of all.
No, yeah, we're in the home run stretch, man.
Now we can close this out, but again, we're talking about buried secrets again, and we see things underneath mounds, we see things underneath statues. He finds things again. He's led to a brick in Independence Hall to find them spectacles.
Yes,
and these things have always seemed to overtly been Franklin, because he's very much a scientist and very much a wizard. He's often not regarded as such in history, but he was a wizard.
There's the symbol you just passed over at the tribe.
Yeah,
I'm
just going to play for a few seconds. Away with any more of it. Yep.
What do you see?
Yeah, dude. So I initially kind of wrote that off as a Trinity symbol regarding the Trinity Church there in Manhattan. I guess I didn't quite understand the deeper nature to that.
So it goes back to what we were just saying, JJ. There's two versions of this knowledge. So some people, that's a Trinity symbol. To another sect, that's a Truckwerta goddess symbol.
Yeah, I definitely see the Venus imagery in it for sure. I can see the interlocking 3 Venus symbols. I can see why the New Agers call it the triple goddess symbol. It makes sense to me for sure. I just had not picked up on that but we see that maybe. So when we're looking at the Holy Trinity Church there in Manhattan, I guess there could be more of an esoteric understanding of that whole operation.
Well, yeah, it depends on who built that too, because I think you said something earlier in the program about the Templars building the cathedrals, which I believe they did alongside of Saint Bernard de Clairvaux, and those guys were encoding these secrets that they had learned, these occult secrets they had learned, the types of alchemy and all that. They were encoding that knowledge into the cathedrals, and it wasn't necessarily Christian knowledge, but yet it's a Christian.
Thank you. That's my point.
Yeah,
that's a good example, though. So it is a Christian facility on its face as an exoteric understanding, but in an esoteric understanding, we see these goddess worshiping aspects of occultism being built and baked into it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's right beneath the surface of this movie. There's so much stuff like this.
And here we see more this map again on the back of the Declaration of Independence is sending him back to the original settlements of America, right? So before DC or Philadelphia, it was New York City. This was the epicenter for the headquarters of George Washington during the war, and this was also his first seat as president. And that is where this map is telling them. So, I mean, as far as I'm saying, like, if we were going back to is this a historically accurate journey they're going on? Well, yeah, this would be where the map, I think, would lead them to is the Northeast. Vinland, right? Up towards Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. You know, the Lawn Saw Meadows project that almost got me thrown out of junior high. Recognizing that.
Now, what do you think?
I think this would be the journey would go. He wouldn't be. I mean, he could be sending you out west. I'm just saying, like, if they're hiding stuff, it's gonna and putting it under things. Well, we look at the oldest buildings they're putting in the Northeast here, the oldest churches, the oldest structures that were put in our modern era. You know, those would be, in my opinion, the facilities that would have things buried under them, like the Independence Hall having the brick with the spectacles in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, as they're building this nation, they're hiding different aspects of it throughout the chronological construction of things, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. I think that's something that was going on. I don't know to what extent, but like we've shown in some of our podcasts in this one, they were hiding stuff in the monuments, clues to other things, bigger things, treasures even.
Oh, that was Addis. That's your Statue of Liberty there.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so again, over time, over millennia, there's been different goddess worshiping activities, and they've called that goddess a different name. It could be Diane. It could be Diana. It could, you know what I mean? Rome, Greek. We have these different Hecate, and we have these different versions of the same characteristics, same archetype, if you will.
Yes.
Goddess worshiping archetype.
And go ahead. I thought you were finished.
No, I think if we're looking at the same bloodlines over time, and we can call them a different thing. It's the same concepts, different time changes, languages change, things stay precisely the same, especially within these bloodlines. Same goddess, just different name. America is their version of that goddess that Landon is just shown.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was kidding about Serpent Mount earlier, by the way.
I'm
everybody got that as a joke.
I have to talk about that, man.
Would it be
the fastest place in the world?
Oh,
would he be a god? Would he be a goddess, JJ?
I love it.
I mean, technically,
dude, I've been there a couple dozen times. There a lot of times. What's that, Landon?
I said technically he's a dude, so he really couldn't be a goddess because he had a dick at one point. You know what I mean? And then he cut it off.
Well, so if you go way back in a lot of
Democrat, Landon, what are you trying to induct me into the transpocalypse?
I'm taking you to the world of the Zizians and what's the guy that shot Charlie Kirk? What's his name?
I'm trying not to
transferring. I don't know.
Yeah, the transferring guy. Yeah.
I'm trying not to talk about Ishtar this whole entire time, but that's very much a Temple of Ishtar thing. That the priestesses in the Temple of Ishtar and the priests were trying to make themselves sexless. They were trying to become more androgynous because they wanted to be more like the gods. So the trans thing, if you really want to go all the way back and trace its roots, it goes back to places like Uruk in Babylon.
Well, but let's present a situation where those trans folks in Babylon then had kids before they lopped their genitalia off, and then their kids had kids before they lopped their genitalia off, and then we're presented in down to our modern era in these bloodlines to the same situation, worshiping the same goddess today. They called her Ishtar in Babylon. They call her something different today. It's the same bloodlines and the same goddess worship, in my opinion. Right?
There is, yeah, and you know what, man? Like, it just kind of clicked with me something you said about the whole cargo cult, alien cargo cult thing. Like, I do think that there's that element to the Templars, and I'm not trying to badmouth them in any way, but I see it there, and it's like, okay, so that there's a scene I was talking about where they're down in the vault, and Nicolas Cage has that weird line, and where he's like, "Oh, the same way they built the pyramids in the Great Wall of China," and then it just kind of dies off, and then like one guy does say one thing in response to that, and he says, the aliens helped them, and then they just go on. There's no resolve after that, which essentially is what the Templars do believe, that except what their version of aliens are Anunnaki and / goddesses, not green aliens from your Spielberg movies. These are the deities.
No, they're not from Zeta Reticuli.
The Templars,
they're not from Zeta Reticuli coming here to probe my butt.
Right, and
Zeta Reticuli bastards are always after probing butts.
And they they teach, because I've read the Templars' teachings, they teach that their equal arm cross goes back to the Anunnaki. That's the same place. That's Sumer, and then Babylon carried on many of those traditions, and that's where you
That's a
see
great
these
example.
temples to Inanna, Ishtar. All this stuff is all sort of connected.
Well, that's a great example. Where did they learn that from, sir? It's passed down their bloodline.
Yeah, and some of it goes back to the teachings of Oannes, that fish god guy I think we talked about earlier. There's some linkage to it, Oannes there as well.
Makes you wonder why that band called themselves Fish, doesn't it? Makes me wonder. About Hootie and the Blowfish. What about that one? No.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that, but
the Trinity Church that you're referring to in that vault, sir, is at the corner of Wall Street and Broadway, and that was the directions from the back of the Declaration of Independence. That's where we saw in the film. They go in the basement of the Trinity Church, right?
Yeah, wait, say that again? Sorry.
The back of the Declaration of Independence on Ben Franklin's magical wizard spectacles sent them to the Trinity Church at the oldest encampment there, if you will, when the New Amsterdam folks started here in what is now New York,
in the old wall,
part of Manhattan.
The old wall.
Boom, here at the wall, right?
They reference an old wall there in the movie that they say the Danish built.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. It was the original encampment. It was the original fortification.
Sure, but what if the wall was already there?
Already there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, did he say founded? Did he say founded by the Danish?
Right. Exactly. Right. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, these. I think the ideas that we're inferring here that they just found it is something that is probably more acceptable within the bloodline, within the initiated within the bloodline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I love how they do that, like these old towns founded in 1748. You know what I mean? Like they do it right in front of your face.
Dude, I'll go found a town right now, sir. You just dare me, sir. I'll go found it.
It's not even
funny. Do it, dude. Plant a flag and everything.
Yeah, the founded by dates are suspicious because one that comes to mind. San Francisco. I don't remember the date. It was sometime in the 1700s is when they say that it was founded or whatever.
1740 flag, right?
But you see, speaking of these old walls, you see an old star fort on maps from the 1500s in San Francisco. So, and they don't have an answer for that. It's almost like what they do in this movie. Oh, the Danish built that. Well,
right.
I don't know. It predates them, it seems.
Right. So I think within the bloodlines, the secret societies, the initiated, they're taught some of these secrets of the real history there, and we can see that when folks like Leland Stanford moves a 12th century, 13th century Knights Templar worship house from Spain over to the original site and founding site of California. It sits there today, the Abbey of New Clairvaux. They're the beer-producing monks that you see in Robin Hood, Friar Tuck style. The Cistercian monks, the folks that founded the Knights Templar, is a Cistercian order with lineage back to Monk's Mound in Cahokia. The same lineage of monks. They got I grew up Mormon. I did alien stuff. We did alien magic stuff. But the Catholics, they got like one dude does this and then goes like Peter did that to somebody. And then it goes, you can track your lineage back to Peter from doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Priesthood or whatever, getting the priesthoods. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. The priesthood. So when they do that, they got that whole lineage of, they have a name for it. I don't know. If you look at it that way, right, you can see kind of, I don't know. I think there's a lot, if you apply that standard across the board to some of these other concepts, I think there's probably a lot to be said about that.
I just think that that whole, when we're talking about monuments and the whole reason why I brought up Cleopatra's Needle, I think it's a microcosmic example of all the good weird stuff that the normal Americans aren't told about this land. The stuff that we're just now finding out. I mean, it's the cities, the monuments, the obelisks. There's a deeper level to all this stuff, and the mystery schools are put into it.
For sure. And think about, mash those two things. What you said when I said it together. So you go from the ancient city of Heliopolis in ancient Egypt, where that Cleopatra's Needle originated, and you think of a wizard class that operated these magic stuff back then, and they're passing it down through the bloodlines in this, because that was a goddess worshiping aspect there too, situation there. That's why it's called Cleopatra's Needle, right? So when we consider these are the wizards to the goddess worshiping aspects of this culture, or whatever you want to call it, cult, I don't want ancient alien cargo cult. Okay, that seems fair. And then you see that if you pass that down and follow that whole hierarchy coming down to our current era, well, then we have a wizard class today that's surrounding themselves in the same concepts, and they're the same folks that moved that Cleopatra's Needle all the way from Egypt to America. That was not an easy trek.
No, that was an undertaking.
Big time. Big time. Vanderbilt's, JP Morgan, we see the bloodline folks involved in it. It's not exclusively Society of Cincinnati. The Vanderbilts marry into it. They are associated with it. Morgan was a member that was involved there. Cornelius Vanderbilt was not a member. He has kinfolk that are members. So I'm saying, so you can say it's, but it is bloodlines. So the baseline of it is bloodlines, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
these are the wizards of the ancient Heliopolis passing down through the bloodlines, and that's why we see them moving their ancient monuments here. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think that the wizard priest class thing is very much a thing. I'm into it.
Ben Franklin's glasses, man. He throws them.
Dude,
He's a
Ben
wizard.
Franklin was a wizard.
Harry, you're a wizard.
Oh yeah.
He was a scientist for sure. I'm just saying that dude did some wild.
Dude was also
like
a tiddler with those 13 kindergartners he had under his basement.
I don't know if they were kindergartners, were they?
Probably, dude. They were young kids.
I've yet to
It's
see
funny
evidence
to see.
of his body for president at the time that he was ownership of that home. I do believe they were buried there afterwards, considering the foundation they were found under, and the fact that during his time frame they had gravel fucking floors and dirt floors. So I'm just saying, like, at some point in time, someone
about that.
What's that?
I'd like to know more about that whole situation before I come to.
I would like to know more about it too, sir.
Oh, I
was just saying, like, at some point in time, after foundation was invented, they put the floor down, right? You work construction land, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Well,
it's weird.
When Ben Franklin owned it, they didn't have foundation, right?
No, they didn't have concrete. They weren't bricking anything back then. Well, they might have. They stonework. They did a lot of stonework, so it'll be more.
Landon, you worked construction in the 1800s. Tell us.
You're a stonemason, sir. Which order are you with?
I would assume that's what they were doing. You know what I mean? They weren't.
Everybody has a good. Both of you, I think, have a good point about that. You bring up good points about
and
that.
I don't want to spread misinformation because I don't know if they were kindergartners, but they might have been.
Well, I thought you were joking about that part. Honestly,
they might have been, dude.
If Joe Biden was involved, you can rest assured, sir. They were kindergartners.
Check his laptop. Check Franklin's laptop, man. Benjamin.
Well, you mentioned that being national treasurer with Hunter Biden. So the Biden family is a wholly owned subsidiary of the DuPont family and wing of it. Not from my.
They own the Bidens.
They own the Biden. Hey, we own them boys. We own them Biden boys.
Well, actually, the Bidens kind of own them too because they had that missing that whole deal that went up there where they ended up killing somebody. Or no, it was one.
No, you're mistaken, sir. One of the DuPonts raped his 3-year-old, and
raped his 3-year-old daughter.
Attorney General said,
he said Biden was the Attorney General.
That man would not do well in prison, so we're not going to send him to prison. Like, excuse me.
So the Bidens might have a little leverage there too.
No. Well, you're not sending the boss's son to jail, dude. Come on now, you're not sending the boss's son to jail.
Sleepy Joe out, man.
Well, I guess I'm up putting this on YouTube.
My point there is the DuPonts are the French chapter of the Society of Cincinnati, EI DuPont original member. Now, the wings the Biden works for, my assessment, are not the hereditary member that's currently sitting in the society. That could be up for dispute, I suppose.
And I have something.
But at some point in time, you see your cousin out there being a real dickbag about life. You're like, hey, buddy, someone needs to take accountability of these people. That's all I'm saying. These Muppets.
Gentlemen, it's been good. I'm gonna have to roll.
Yes, it's getting late.
Close her out here, fellas. Well, when we're at the end here, gents, I want to thank you both for your time discussing all of these matters of ancient America and trying to sift through the lies. As we pointed out, at the end of the day, we've all been lied to. Tim, you've been
Yep.
lied to. Landon, you've been lied to. I've been lied to. I'm offended by all of these matters of lying to about American history. I'm just saying, like, when we see evidence, when we've discussed many elements relative to the plot line of tonight's film, the 2004 cinematic masterpiece, starring way too many people connected to Cocaine Bob Evans for my taste, but it was a good film. It's a good film overall. I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it many times. I wish they would have made it number 3. I did enjoy number 2. We will have to convene it in the future, gents, for number 2. There's a lot to be said about that one as well. Again, regarding these ancient history, again, as the matters move west, kind of, if you will. Because, regarding, and I know Tim's mentioned this before, this is my closing statement. I'll offer you gents some closing statements here. Appreciate you all again for your time. So, I agree with you. One point in time, the Templar treasure was at Oak Island. Wizards such as Ben Franklin were there. But at some point in time, it moved west. If it moved west, it probably did so, around the time they built the highways, to be quite honest with you. That'd be the most expedient time in which to move a lot of things. They may have moved it certainly western bound beforehand. I'm just saying, in number 2, we see well, that's what I'm saying. We can, but you're only going to go so far with so much. And you're going to establish, on the way.
They were using the rivers as highways, I think, before that. And I'm sure once they got the real highways, what we think of highways now down, I'm sure they used it. I'm not taking away from that, but I think that the Rio Grande is how they got a lot of that stuff up into Mexico in the first place. New Mexico.
I don't disagree, sir. And I guess what I was referring to is the chronology of these events. So that while they used the most expedient mode of transportation at the time, when we see it, like, for example, in National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets, we see that treasure's behind Mount Rushmore, right? Spoiler alert. And what I'm saying there is, at the time when they did Mount Rushmore, when we're thinking about the chronology of moving this stuff around from Oak Island and further inland to America, the Templar lands for many centuries, since the Kensington Runestone at least, right? If not beforehand with Vinland of the Vikings. But my point there is, as we see that time moves on and they're always shifting these things around as if trying to move it away from somebody and continuing to hide it, right? Which is what the plot line of the story is. They're always trying to shift it around and hide it, make sure no one gets their hands on it. It's not for one person, as they tell us in the story. Harvey Keitel tells us that's probably a Scientologist, but that's a different story altogether. Harvey Keitel. But when we see the Mount Rushmore situation, at the time in American history, when they're building all of these roads, which we stated was fairly cultish and involved in the same families and bloodlines, well, there may be an impetus to build all those roads and maybe move things from behind places to and from places like Mount Rushmore, and then start building at the very same time in the 1950s, at the same time we start building these deep underground military bases. I'm just saying. In order to access them, we needed to build the highways. But why are we doing all of these things?
None
of us did these things.
That's why Elon Musk has that tunnel boring company, dude.
I knew you were going to like the deep underground military bases, Landon. I knew you were going to enjoy that.
That's real, brother. I mean, that's been real since like the 1980s, per the U.S. Air Force with their tunnel boring.
Yeah, dude, but they went deep, dude. So Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, many Nazis and aliens, right? The entire base has underground tunnels. I've been in them. So I'm just saying, like, that era of construction from 47 through the 50s. When all these highways got built, there's a lot of deep underground military bases.
That's the continuity of government ordeal too.
Yes, sir. Oh, my leg jammed up.
Was that 47?
Got a leg jam up.
Yep. After the war, it's right after the war, and then up into the 80s, right into the Cold War.
They went nuts, dude, building underground.
Spending tons of our money.
So
tons.
So that was what you guys were saying that kicked off for sure in 47.
That's about when the onslaught of construction happened. Yeah,
on paper.
That's when Wright-Patterson was built.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could launch into an entirely separate podcast just off of that alone. That's crazy.
Well, hell,
but can you see?
Didn't they?
Can you see what the picture I'm painting? They're moving all this stuff around, and they're building all these deep underground military bases at the same time they're building all these highway structures. It almost speaks to me like this is a network in which to continue to move and hide this treasure. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I may have seen this in a movie. I'd be fair. I may have seen this in a movie somewhere, but I think they're just trying to hide the treasure.
Yeah, so you got a point. Because, I mean, I do think that they've moved this stuff around. They have something. They still have stuff, and they do move it around. I don't know how frequent that is. But, yeah, that stuff that was at Oak Island, from what I can tell, is not there anymore. And they didn't spend it all either. Like some of it they used, from what I can tell, to fund the American Revolution, but then who knows where it went. According
Think
to
about
the
how
modern day,
intricate those booby
I
traps
read the
are.
quote, right? I read the quote earlier. According to the modern day Templar, he said this year they have not nine, but they have. Did he say 9? Maybe they have several
He did say 9.
vaults.
He did say 9. That's why I was asking about the other 9 stuff.
Yeah,
There
that's.
seems to be a
Oh, I didn't even
reaction
put that
with all these
together. Dude.
9s.
I didn't even put that together until now. The Templar guy says we have 9 vaults, and the Masonic legend is literally called 9 vaults. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
That's not a
We
coincidence.
live in a
either,
Muppet
dude.
world.
How did I miss that? How did I miss
Well,
that?
that's why we have these
What's that song,
conversations,
JJ?
sir, to bring things to our own brain holes and other folks' brain holes.
Welcome
Yes, sir.
to
Welcome to
the
your own brain
machine.
holes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Cool, man. Yeah. I'm on board with it. Yeah.
No,
Good
I
points.
don't have any more closing thoughts on tonight's film other than look forward to the part 2 because this treasure. I do think there's. I've been looking at these matters of this treasure for a very long time, so long before I understood my own Templar heritage. So I have a lot of ideas around when they made these films, dude. My last statement: when they made these films, I was obviously a big fan and whatnot, but when I tell these tales of the actual historical, some of these known knowns and facts and details we've discussed tonight with mounds and buried treasures and other stuff like that here in America, I've told these tales on Reddit years ago before I quit posting on Reddit probably 7 years ago. But someone once made a very funny comment to me on there. They were trying to roast me. I'm like, ha ha ha! I love that. I'm going to save that and use it. They said, I wrote mounds, society, Cincinnati, etc. All the things we've been discussing in a generalized concept. Someone said in a very smart, diminishing kind of reply, obviously degrading reply, or they said, "Oh, what is that? The plot line to National Treasure 3?" And I'm like, "All right, buddy, I get it, but it's funny. I get it, but it could be the plot line to National Treasure. What we've discussed tonight, it could be the plot line to National Treasure 3.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's what most people think. That's the joke. Maybe that's the psyop, if you will.
It is. Would you see that in a movie, buddy? All right, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to sit somebody down, for Thanksgiving, somebody in my family who's not into anything, and there's a couple of them like that are just going through life, just believing all the narratives, believing, whatever TV man says.
Are you getting ready?
And what?
Are you getting ready for battle? Like when I go into Thanksgiving dinner,
No, dude, I don't. I'm shut down, bro. I don't want to get into it. I go in like a monk, like I'm zenned out, bro. I'm just gonna eat and chill.
Think about
I've got it, dude. I've got it dialed in to where if I hear Trump or politics, I just smile and tune them out. I don't even listen.
I
feed into it.
Well, everything we've discussed here tonight, gents, I've raised my son to all these matters. He's well versed in everything we've discussed in these kind of discussions. In fact, Landon, he said he appreciated some of that fantasy football advice you gave him recently.
Oh, nice.
Triple J. But I think there's a big part of it. I think we can never rely certainly on the government or textbooks to tell us these tales. It is certainly told, I think, through families actually giving a shit about American history and describing things to their children in an accurate fashion.
Yeah, we're trying to fix things here, and I don't mean to sound too serious or take myself too seriously, but the more I get into this stuff, the more I see how the work is cut out for us. Like, there's a lot that needs to be retold, and so I appreciate conversations like this in that regard, especially because we're trying to put the information out there. You guys can do what you want with it, but at least
don't take my word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at it, right?
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think my point was, and I'll finish with this. My point was, I'm not going to go sit down with somebody at a holiday or family get together and start talking about why the treasure of Oak Island is no longer there and go into all this Templar stuff. Right. That's not going to resonate at all.
Yeah, good to see you, Aunt Judy. Did you know the Templars founded America in 1362? Like, this guy's lost it. I'm going to get him out of here.
Exactly. So thank God for podcasts. We have a forum where we can talk about this stuff. Because I know some people...
Tim does his podcasting. Let Tim do his podcasting. Yeah, right. Is that the reaction you get?
Are you still doing that little podcast, Tim?
You doing
Yeah,
some
That's
podcast?
another one you get to.
How's
I
that
say, hell
hobby
yeah,
you're
dude.
doing? That little project you're doing. Something
Bro,
diminishing in that regard, right? Something.
Yes,
Yeah.
my response every time is, hell yeah, dude. I'm going on Rogan next week every time.
Regardless
This
of
is
what
thing.
the idea that you can voice your opinion, free speech here in America, and share these ideas, I think that's why I appreciate this conversation with both you gentlemen this evening, and appreciate both your time to get a little GCD on these ancient American topics, as we often do when we convene. But that's what I look at
Absolutely.
podcasting. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot to be said about a lot of things. I appreciate the ability. I've been censored a lot of my life. I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of folks told me to shut up, shut down, go shut up and color. A lot of these kind of things. I've just, I'm like, all right, buddy. All right, here you go, buddy. I'm gonna go tell my ideas on the interwebs. How about that one? Because I've obviously, when I started getting into a lot more of these things, discuss matters with friends and family, they weren't having it. And I'm like, look here, buddy, you've lost your shit.
Well, yeah.
You've gone full Muppet.
The good part of this is that there are a lot of people out there now who want to hear about why some of these movies might actually be more on the documentarian side. Like there's
Way more now than there was even 2 years ago. I mean, I feel like you're right. We're coming into a point in time where a lot of folks are like, what in the hell is going on around here?
yeah.
And they're looking for answers, man.
Oh yeah.
Looking for 6th Century podcast and the Daily Dissident, and occasionally my slanderous remarks and tomfoolery and shenanigan infused journeys here at Operation GCD. I just gave us all a triple plug, if you will, like that symbol Tim was showing us earlier.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Friend of
All
you
right, boys,
guys.
it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah.
Last
this is,
statements, alibis, baking recipes, anything, gents?
Nope. Good movie.
Good movie. Great film.
Good film. Yeah, check out. I don't usually do this, but yeah, if
Dude,
I just did a show on where we talked about Cleopatra's Needle and some of these matters. So yeah, there's more of this at our respective shows if people want to go check them out.
And we'll be convening again, presumably again for the sequel of this film, but on Friday, November 21st, from Operation GCD Fridays for more tales of ancient America.
Love it.
Yep. Absolutely. Be fun.
All right. Well, thank you, gents, for joining me at GCD, and thank you, folks, of the interwebs, and we'll catch you next time.